Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 367. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, from soon to be in a blizzard, Minnesota.
Oh, no!
Charlie Carden.
Oh, my gosh. We're just out of a blizzard here in the western Michigan. We had snow all day Friday and bright sunshine yesterday and today, and it's almost all gone. So you can keep that blizzard. Maybe it's magically blowing the other way. So it'll be snowing in like California or something. So sorry, California. Todd has changed the rules of the weather. He's used the weather dominator, and you're in big trouble. Sorry. That's the way it goes.
Yes, absolutely. So this week, though, because we are doing our big Ghostbusters Frozen Empire discussion at the end of the show in the Thunderdome, we wanted to bring in some experts this week. So Aaron Heminger, you know him well if you're watching Code 47, and he's been on our podcast before. He is a great member of that cast. And we are also joined by someone new who apparently snuck in behind Aaron, and that is Jessi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Jessi. Some people might know me by my cosplay name, So Excited Cosplay. I am one half of the duo team USA for 2024, which will be competing in Madrid, Spain in September. And I'm very excited about that. I've been cosplaying for over a decade and lots of fun, nerdy cosplay things. So, of course, I couldn't resist the chance to chime in on one of my favorite nerd things, which is Ghostbusters.
Woohoo! All right.
And of course, we are both members of Team GBMI, the Michigan Ghostbusters.
Excellent. Yeah, we had, I believe, a member of that team on when we reviewed Afterlife.
We had Danny on back then. So yeah, so he's the chief cook and bottle washer of that group, or somebody very high up. So, but yeah, he's a great dude.
Excellent. Well, Jessi, since you're new to Secret Friends Unite, we always ask new members to give us their geek elevator pitch, or how you became the geek you are today, your origin story.
Well, I was actually kind of born into a dynasty of geekdom. See, my parents were both super colossal nerds in different realms, which collided. In fact, in our family, the coming of age when you are 13 is when you are finally allowed to get to the D&D table and play your own character for the first time ever. So
it's a bar mitzvah.
I was going to say it's a geek quinceañera.
Everything, comic books, everything, anything and everything nerd. One of my two parents was deeply passionate about, and so I'm just this blender of nerddom.
Wow, nerd blender in the geek quinceañera. There's a possible great episode title right there. That's awesome.
Very cool. Yes. We love having new faces that are here to talk about corners of the geekdom that we don't always cover. So thank you so much, and good luck on your cosplay soon-to-be championship. So Love that, and we'll obviously want to hear more about at the end of the show how people can check in on that, follow you. So we'll get into all the details that are really important for people out there who are watching the show now. So as you see it, though, if you're watching the show right now, it's awesome because I have a cool Ghostbusters cartoon background behind me. We've got two Ghostbusters there, and then Charlie's wearing a vest.
And I'm wearing a vest. Yes, exactly. It's like it's the 90s all over again. It's not that kind of vest. But while we're speculating about backgrounds and other outfits, we do, as always, love to do the business part of the podcast, which is paying homage to the wonderful folks over at our Secret Friends Unite Patreon. Visiting patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite does give you great access to ad-free programs, and it does give you a free 7-day trial if you just want to check us out. Our podcasts also over on YouTube podcasts, which I don't really know what that means, but Todd does, so it's okay. But we do like to pay homage to the top folks who are supporting us over there and letting us create all the great additional content that you will find there. On the Friends with Benefits level, John Sedorf, the Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, Brendan Myers, Corey and HD, and friend of the show, Matthew Keel. Top tier BFFs, Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias, the wonderful Nias family of the Twin Cities, and friend of the show and friend of yours and mine, Missy Merchant. Again, thank you to all of you. And if you are interested in learning more and having a quick old sample, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, free 7-day trial. And if you like it, as Arnie said in Predator, stick around. Oh, see, I found a way to work that in. Oh, good deal. So, Todd, did I miss anything? What is YouTube Podcast? Educate me.
So Google Podcasts went away. So Google is basically moving everything into YouTube, their music, their podcasts. So that's kind of like where the new face of Google and their entertainment focus. So YouTube Podcasts, you can actually access it right on the YouTube page. If you just want audio, you'll get basically the audio with our background, basically the logo in the background. Nothing to do. If you just want to listen to it, you don't want to see our faces for some reason.
What?
It's there.
I can't believe it. Well, one thing that I definitely wouldn't miss, and hopefully you're not missing if you're watching the video version, is this week's cover. Todd, we've been jamming in the 70s for a while now, which works the decade of the 1970s. But this gem is from August of 1973, issue 67 of Prince Namor, the Savage Submariner. You know, I sometimes forget that he had anything quite so long running because I just kind of think of him as like a B character. You know, it's kind of a Book of the Boba Fett situation. You know what I mean? It's like, why does he have a series?
Yeah,
What's
he is essentially one of their oldest characters.
Very true.
It was Submariner, Cap, and the Human Torch, who were the original Marvel, timely, whatever you want to call that branch before we got into the Stan Lee era.
Exactly. So for the cover price of 20 cents in this wonderful issue, you have Namor standing in his, I'm gonna say it's a vest, but it's a vest that, well, I guess it's a half nipple covering black.
It's not even a
feathers.
deep V. It's like a deep polygon.
It's an L. It's an L shirt. There you go. And with very pronounced fins. They're not even webs, they're fins. Like original Spider-Man had a little bit of web.
Because he's a fish.
Because he's a fish man. And gold bracelets, and then a very big WWE looking kind of belt scenario, and then just some black pants. And he is saying, Todd, you read this. I can't zoom in that much.
Okay, great. Yes. It says, "This day, for once and for always, I declare war on the human race.
Of course.
War to the death." Then we've got several bubbles of balloons of things happening on this page.
Right.
We've got the Inhuman Triton says, "Namor, no. So speaks Triton."
That's how I refer to myself. Todd, no. So speaks Charlie.
Yes, we have to put exclamation points in most of our conversations because, you know, people need to know where the emphasis is in the sentence. And then it says special guest stars the Fantastic Four with Medusa. And then my favorite part is, though, because everybody in Atlantis is dying, so they're being choked out by some noxious amnesia gas or something. He's just hanging around, staying there. And then what it says at the cover, the best part is, wait till you dig Namor's dramatic new costume. And it's like, well, we do see it. It's right there in the cover.
Right. It's Doug. I will remark that Medusa actually was a member of the Fantastic Four this time because Sue was on maternity leave. Yes, this was when Franklin was born. So a little bit of Fantastic Four knowledge for you. So yes, it's telling you to dig it, but as you can tell, it was the first thing that we in fact dug. Aaron, Jessi, any takes on this wonderful cover?
Well, I gotta say, Imperious Rex.
No, said it best.
Fantastic character. I'm a big fan of the black vest suit. It's a really classic, and you know, we did recently get to see it come back for a little while during the whole Civil War situation. So it's one that he comes back and he visits it quite often. I was also happy to see Triton on the back of the cover. Triton, of course, being a member of the Inhuman royal family.
Yes.
Kind of nice seeing him standing on his own, you know, him being another aquatic type character. Definitely an interesting matchup between those two. I definitely like to see how a conflict between them would play out. What do you think?
I just really liked the meme, like, Namor, no!
Namor, no! So speaks Triton.
We've always been like this. Like, we've always made these kind of jokey meme things. Yeah. It's nice that it's alive and well today, and it was back then. So,
because he was probably wondering who, you know, he may not know who's speaking to him, so I have to tell him, hey, it's me, Triton, don't do it.
Because sound doesn't carry underwater. So, yeah, exactly. And again, I find it interesting, Triton being an undersea character, but the Inhumans are from the moon where there's no water. I don't get it. Maybe
When you're an Inhuman, Charlie, you don't get to get what you request as a superpower. It's given upon you.
You don't get to
Yes.
get it. It's the most horrendous lottery that
Well,
you can think of.
Yeah, and one thing I do say, so maybe there is a surprise about his costume. Maybe it's assless.
Oh,
We just haven't seen it here.
Yes, and this is when
turn it around.
This is when he
and it's the exact front cover, but
exactly
right. This is when he bursts into singing YMCA, and the rest of the members of the Undersea Village people come out. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my God! Well, speaking of the Village people, as I frequently do, little do people know that the fifth member of that awesome group was our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. Now, it was the 1970s, so she was in her 70s, owing to the fact she was born in the year 1900. So you don't want to see what that looks like. But more important to that fact, she is down, as always, at the corner of Hollywood and Vine with all the latest scoops and news for us with the news with Madam Webb. So let's do it.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. As Charlie mentioned, you were part of the Village people back in the day. They determined you were kind of doing like a bosom buddies thing where you like wore a mustache, you were faking it to be a man, you got kicked out. So then you formed your own group of the lady version of the Village people. It was called the Angry Villagers. Did not do as well.
Even with all the fire and pitchforks. Oh my goodness. Well, right off the top, I'm going to jump in on this, even though I've put my voice to Stax back on earlier this week. Now I can't remember where it came out. But if you follow us over on Instagram, or if you follow my partner, Mark Carabin, the Jedi Canardian, over on Instagram, you did see that he and I jumped on to do a live to talk about Star Wars The Acolyte, which we are going to be getting on June 4th. It seems so silly that they can't squeeze it up by May the 4th, but whatever, who cares? They've got their own reasons. They want to, it's synergistic. Actually, the real reason is that I don't think Bad Batch ends about 2 weeks prior to that. So I'm sure sparing the crossover, especially since the next thing they have in the pipe, the skeleton key or whatever it is going to be further on down the road. But anyway, we got a teaser that was a little shy of 2 minutes long. I'm sure anybody listening to the sound of my voice has seen it, but it has broken a Lucasfilm record, I think over 5.5 gajillion views. Now I don't have the number in front of me, but it was a record-breaking view. I know there's some stories around it that people are like, but most of those were negative reviews or whatever it is. But oh my God, you know what? Ridiculous. Let's spare that. Let's go around the horn and let's start with our guests first. Aaron and Jessi, whichever one of you want to jump in. What's your hot take on the Acolyte?
I thought it looked really good. It's hard to get a feel for something from just a short teaser trailer, and so I'm a little critical of people who are a little harsh on it because we don't know what we're getting until we actually sit down and see it. The trailer is pretty misleading, but I love seeing it. I love seeing the training temple for the younglings on Coruscant again.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of exciting for me, being a fan of the prequels and everything. Seeing that, and so far, I've actually enjoyed the High Republic storylines that have been coming out of Disney and the
Big
comics
time.
and everything. I thought they've been a lot of fun. So I'm definitely excited to see a live action interpretation of that. I'm really hyped to see where this goes.
Cool. I agree, and I know that we don't really know the storyline or anything, but just based off of like a costuming and prop standpoint, it looks like they've definitely put the care and energy in to make it feel very organic. It doesn't feel like any corners were cut. So I feel very hopeful and optimistic about it because I was like, I'm always excited when they put that amount of detail into like costuming, because it means that if they had the resources to put into the costuming, then the chances are they put it into like the storyline, the plot, everything has a lot of care into it. So I'm really hyped. Plus I was very jazzed to see orange lightsabers. Like I was like, so that's my takeaway. I'm interested. I'm excited. I'm very hopeful.
I'll ask one follow-up question, if I might, to you, Jessi. As a professional costumer, what was the thing that you saw that you liked the most on the costume side?
I liked that they were definitely they felt like they were still in the stories of like when we had like the Phantom Menace and things like that, like closer to the end of the High Republic. You can definitely see how the fashion like transitioned into that fashion. So it felt very much cohesive as a society. Like you can see with the side shoulders and then the flowing and the texture itself to the fabric. They didn't feel very synthetic. It felt very organic, which is, Jedi robes and things like that are often made out of organic fibers.
Mhm.
And so you could actually see some of that in it. And I was very excited. So it feels very lived in, very part of the world for me.
Literally, that's what April's doing right now. She's cutting fabric because she cut my Jedi robes. The arms were too short, so she's doing mine. Then she has to get to hers. But I have my cloak. Holy cow! I realize why the Jedis don't fight in that thing, because it weighs about 50 pounds. It's ridiculous.
You have to be like, oh, are we fighting? Let me take this off. It's
Thank
the
you.
Of a girl being like, let me give you my earrings
Yeah.
here. We're about
Take
to
the
throw
rings
down.
off. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Todd, you've listened to a lot of cosplay talk, and patiently, I know you were muted. That probably helps, because Todd doesn't really dig on the cosplay stuff, which I respect. But Todd, your takes.
I enjoy cosplay. I actually love the old, I mean, as a viewer, and I've watched a bunch of the old, what was it, cosplay. Sci-Fi used to have a cosplay reality series. I really dug. I love Face Off, so I love the art and the creation of all of those things. I'm more of a fan of that, like how it's created versus,
how the sausage,
a lot of the other,
especially
the cosplay drama I've had heard secondhand. Yeah. Don't care about the drama with the clubs and stuff. It's just not for 100% my perspective.
Same.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. But anyway, your take, please.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this because I am a fan of the Old Republic Star Wars video game where they have their cutscenes. And if you've watched any of those, they are amazing. They bring, you get like 100 Jedis going to battle, and it's amazing. I've always wanted a series that was a CGI animated that looked like that. This is copping to that, which I love. I also love that there's no big names except for Carrie-Anne Moss, which she's going to bring weight to the series. She's awesome. We know she can bring it from her time on the Matrix stuff. So it's really exciting. But the rest is a lot of unknowns. So I like that. So you're not distracted to say, oh, it's Jack Black as a guy from this planet, man. And it's like, okay, it's Jack Black.
Come on. It's not like they actually did that. Oh, wait, they totally did.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So I'm very excited about this. I am nervous because I do feel like they're going to cave to like pressures of fan service by bringing in Yoda, which I don't think they have to do. By doing that, it's like, Yoda's been on the screen 1 billion times. We don't need to see him again. It's fine to have other people shine and bring weight to it without saying, oh, look at him. I think there has to be a reason to do it.
Well,
off on the planet, raising his children, which eventually we'll find out later with Yaddle. We know what they're up to. They're having a family. They're making love.
I knew Yaddle was going to get into this. Right. And the one thing is, I've heard, and Todd, you'll appreciate this. People have said, you look at Andor, it's an entire series. Not one lightsaber is ignited. Nobody talks about the Force, and certainly you and I feel like it is in the top 3% of anything Star Wars, certainly, in the Disney era. So there's just so much more to do when it's not the Skywalker saga. But you're right, there's those that just can't let go. And hey, we got to sneak in this. It's just, So totally.
The other part I think is looking at the creator of this. Her name is Leslie Handlin. Who's she hasn't had a lot of big movies, but in TV she's done some really cool things. Russian Doll, that series with Natasha, and then Terriers and some other things. So I think she's going to bring a new vision to Star Wars that we haven't had, which I love, and that's where I love bringing new people in, viewpoints where they're not a they don't feel like they have to bring in all of those pieces that are like knowns to Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I like this. I'm excited to see where this goes. And it's 100 years in the past before, I believe, Phantom Menace. So it's new, kind of like the Game of Thrones. If you do a prequel right, it's magic.
Right.
So that's what I'm hoping.
Magic. And speaking of, did you say Game of Thrones?
I
did. Something Game of Thrones related happening this week? Todd, tell us all about it.
Yes. So Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon is returning June 16th. I'm assuming we're going to get around 8 to 10 episodes. And we had actually 2 trailers released, Black and Green, and that's really to the 2 houses that are going to be at war. We've got essentially King Viserys' son, who is now the basically proclaimed to be the king. And then we also have, the daughter of the king, who was, up until his death, was told she was going to be the queen. And it's really going to be the Battle of Two Houses, which we really haven't seen. I mean, we got a little bit of that in Game of Thrones, but really it was primarily just trying to take down, the major house with Joffrey. But this is truly, I feel like we're going to see the two heads, lots of dragons. I'm so excited. And I tell you, man, those Valerian children are creepy. They're really albino. They're really strange looking. Kind of give me the willies.
They're like
like
the Grady twins from The Shining. Just to put them in that long hallway.
I don't like them.
Yeah,
don't like those people. Yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. So, Charlie, you were not a huge Game of Thrones fans, but you dug on House of Dragons. So,
I locked on.
Excited?
I locked onto this, and a lot of it really bleeds back to what you're talking about, the Acolyte, because you had this big divorce from lore and like, let's sneak in so and so, and I think they did a really effective job in the 10 episodes of the first season in making it, here's a family, here's another family, and if I had never seen how Game of Thrones, which was incredibly dense, just like Star Wars, just like Star Trek, for example. But hey, here's a show you can enjoy without this truckload of baggage to make it happen. Still was very enjoyable for the drama and the action and the intrigue and the suspense and the creepy moments, like you said, that you're just like, ugh, marrying your uncle, knock it off.
The House of Incest. Oh wait, did I say that? No. Jessi, so with the Game of Thrones and House of Dragons, is this interest you? Do you have a history with it?
Okay, so I watched all of Game of Thrones when Game of Thrones was like airing. So I have all of that history to it. And I've only just started House of Dragons. And I will say, in part because of this amazing cosplayer that I met at, her name's Jedi Amanda, who actually does the queen, who's trying to maintain that birthright that she feels that she's entitled to. She does a phenomenal job, so check out her Instagram. She's got it on there. Her name's Jedi Amanda. But I talked to her at some length about it. I'm like, all right, let me give it a try, because I was disappointed in some of the aspects of the later episodes of Game of Thrones. I'll be honest. Some things made me sad.
Fairly germane opinion, yeah.
It was a little harder to get into, but like, this is actually, I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not, but I actually feel like this is better than Game of Thrones. Like, I like this better than the Game of Thrones series from what I've seen. I'm really excited. Seeing the 2 trailers got me really hyped. I already know that I'm going to be like in the black camp, like, because like, do green, do black. I'm like, oh, I'm in the black camp. I'm like, she was the firstborn. Yeah, it should go to her.
You're totally Team Jacob. I get it.
My family, so maybe I'm just biased, but like, she has like the actress really portrays this like stern dignity, and I'm like, about it. I'm like, yes, queen, let's do this. Get the dragons, go to war. Let's go. I want to see this. I'm excited. I'm actually really hyped.
Stern dignity. Could you turn that into one word, like sternity?
Sternity.
Stern diggity.
Stern diggity. No doubt. And sterned out.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yeah, I haven't seen House of the Dragon at all. I have no idea who any of these people are, but I will say I'm a big fan of Matt Smith. I've always loved him since Doctor Who, and I think he's a great and talented actor. And I'm excited to see him coming back in this season.
Does his face get more square as time goes on? I'm just noticing his face looks kind of wider.
He gets more handsome, Charlie. Yeah. He just gets more handsome.
It's a magnificent chin. I remember seeing the Doctor Who anniversary live, and David Tennant came in like to introduce Matt. He's like, "Everyone, be prepared. The chin, it's coming." It's going to be.
You'll see it coming. It'll precede him.
Yeah, but no, I love the way that they're marketing. I love the whole Black House versus the Greenhouse. It's such a smart idea to start playing sides and get everybody hyped for it, and it makes it feel more interactive and immersive that way. And I think it's a real brilliant marketing campaign to release the 2 trailers with highlighting the 2 different sides. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
So Team Jacob versus Team Edward all over again.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
And And I think one of the cool parts about House of Dragon, Aaron, which I think is different, is a time jump. So you get a lot of the main characters as young people,
Yeah,
and then essentially they move on
right.
halfway through the season. So those young people portraying them are
They're all
awesome,
grown.
but
Yeah,
that's all you see with them. It's like and a lot of people loved those young characters. So
right.
I think it does a great job. And the good news is this is all self-contained, and the source material is all complete versus Game of Thrones, which was essentially they ran out of source
Yeah.
material because George R. R. Martin still needs to write 2 more books, and he's like,
Yeah.
maybe in 12 more years I'll actually finish.
Yeah,
that book.
they're like, we want to continue with the show because money. And money ultimately was not a good enough reason to continue the show. Oh, anyway, all right. So we get that June 16. I already put it in my calendar, so I'm very excited. All right, moving on. We get now. This one was an even briefer teaser trailer, and I feel like I have heard less about this, though I knew it was coming. But Todd, this is ostensibly would factor into our summer movie season. But August 16th will give us Alien. Romulus. Did not see any Romulans. Total ripoff. No pointed ears to be seen, unless maybe the alien itself is somehow crossbred with a Romulan. It had pointed ears, but maybe it was wearing a hat that I didn't notice, or long hair, or a scarf, do-rag, something like that. But yeah, we get some hot, quick cuts of what looks much more like a traditional Blumhouse, blood-filled, grisly terror trailer, and I was jazzed. I was totally jazzed. So the Alien franchise, which began in 1979 with Ridley Scott, has absolutely been a mixed bag. I mean, I would call it a mixed bag on the same level as the X-Men films. I mean, I don't think that that's going too far afield, because you've got your truly exceptional 1986's Aliens, directed by James Cameron, an archetype for a science fiction military action film, in my opinion anyway. I know I've watched it a million times. It's a go-to. To the letdown that was its sequel, and then in the early aughts they brought in the Predator, and they made a bunch of movies of them together, and those were anywhere from a C average to like a double F minus, so bad. And then more recently we had the Prometheus movies, and I think there was one after that as well. I know Danny McBride was
Covenant.
in one of them. Covenant, there you go.
Yeah.
So could this be just a return to form? Could this be maybe some kind of formal rebooting? I'm not locked into it that deeply. What do you think?
Yeah, I love this. So this movie, and I love how Wikipedia frames this. This is an interquel. So that's a new term, kids.
It's a real term that we've used it on this show for a long time.
It's so this is set between Alien and Aliens.
Okay.
So kind of gives you context for that. And the premise really in a
7-year period. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll give you just the premise. They give a quick. The sci-fi horror thriller takes a phenomenally successful Alien franchise back to its root while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station. A group of young space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe.
Nice.
So this is by Fede, and this is by Fede Alvarez, who directed the new Evil Dead. He does hardcore horror.
Nice.
And you think about this, Alien was a horror film, but done by Ridley Scott, who's not a horror guy.
Right.
So now we've done the more sci-fi, we did the combat, we've done some other ones that are like more, Prometheus was high sci-fi, little bit vague at times. So we're kind of going back to the horror roots, like they said, no one can hear you scream in space, no one can scream, and we've got a real horror director. So I like that because when a franchise is like struggling and what does it really mean, sometimes it has to go back to its roots. So I appreciate that. And all new faces. We aren't going to get. I mean, we may get some like weird like Easter eggs and things like that, but I don't think we're going to have Ridley just showing up. Oh, it's just in the universe, and I came by and said, "Hey, what's going on, guys?"
I unfroze myself, and at the end of this, I'll freeze myself again. So, you guys, where do you guys land with the Alien films?
Well, I've always been a big fan of the Aliens franchise. I love the first 2 films. I'm also a big Predator fan, and I've always been fans of the comics and everything, and I followed those for a long time. I am really excited for this trailer, for seeing the show and everything. It feels like a return to formula in a lot of ways. I feel a lot of people were turned off by maybe not so much Prometheus, but definitely Covenant, I think, was kind of a misdirection in terms of the overall lore and franchise and everything. So I'm excited to get back to its horror roots, get back to that original time period, with space and the company and all these things that made the first 2 movies just really fantastic, So for sure, like, I appreciate what Ridley Scott was trying to do with Prometheus and the direction it was headed in to change the lore and everything, but I don't know. I think it got a little too fan servicey in the second one and kind of lost its direction, which seems to happen a lot with a lot of franchises lately.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see it just get back to the horror and everything, and seeing those face huggers, like that swarm of face huggers.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like
Confident.
watching it, I was like getting a little scared, but when I saw the face hugger, like the swarm, I was like, oh my!
It was like cats,
like,
and it's
I was
been around a bunch of
genuinely,
cats.
like, you know. And so I'm like, I'm ready to be scared. Like I don't
big
usually
time.
watch a lot of scary stuff, but like I will watch this. I'm very excited about this. I'm like, let's go. Let's scare. I want to like sleep with the lights on. I want it to be scary.
Yeah,
Make me scared.
Yeah,
You know?
Don't open any weird eggs is all I'm
Yeah,
gonna say.
right,
You find
yes.
an egg somewhere.
guys.
Important safety tip for spring: don't open any weird eggs.
Especially with Easter being this weekend when you're listening to the show. So yeah, be cautious.
It's like
about
those.
that.
It's like those people that go to like boil their eggs, make and find out it's like actually snake eggs, and it's like it's not a surprise I want.
Well, Todd, don't forget all the spider eggs that are inside all those Beanie Babies from.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Check your Beanie Babies. There's an expiration date. That's when all of the spider eggs actually come out of your Beanie Babies.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the big birthday. All right. Well, Todd, moving. Unless you had any other thoughts about aliens, moving along. This next one really blew me away, and it's a video game. So why don't you, even though it's about yours truly when I'm in costume, but go ahead.
Yeah, so there was this big Unreal Engine who does like all of the big graphics engines, but they do a lot of stuff for Hollywood. If you think of like the volume, Unreal Engine like actually powers the volume, which is the the digital green screen work that is done in most movies today. So they are really bringing like their talent to Hollywood. But one of the things they do is they always show what their software can do with new video games and things like that. One of the things that is kind of a surprise was this Marvel 1943 game, which we didn't know much about, but we knew it was happening. This is essentially a Captain America team up with the father of T'Challa, the King of Wakanda, the original Black Panther, and it's essentially set in taking on the Nazis, Hydra, things like that. And I love this. This trailer is like real engine, which is great. So it's not just like a CGI cutscenes, but nothing's going to look like this. This gave us a feel for what the game will look like. I really dig this. There's actually two other characters that are involved. One is like a military member, and another one is kind of what I think maybe it's an agent for the. I always blank on the name. The Dorja Malai, is that what it's called?
Dora Milaje. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think she is a spy in this too, teaming up with him. Obviously, she's just wearing more regular gear versus their full regalia. But yeah, this looks really cool. I like the fact that the cast is neat. So Carrie Payton, Charlie, you know him from The Walking Dead.
He's King Ezekiel. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So he looks amazing. Drew Moreland is Steve Rogers, Captain America. Mark Richardson, some other people you don't know, but it's also going to have Howard Stark in it, which is kind of cool. So let's go back there as well. It's going to be set in Paris, and I am very excited for this. It's coming out in 2025, so sooner than we all thought. And this will be for next gen systems.
Okay.
And Amy Hennig is writing this, and Amy Hennig is behind the Uncharted series of games. She is amazing. Part of Naughty Dog, who then went on to make The Last of Us. So she is a phenomenal writer and amazing. So I'm glad to see her have new projects coming out. So I am so excited for this. And actually, Amy Hennig is also making a new Star Wars game, which we have yet to see. So
ooh, the controversy. So all I can say is bring on the cutscenes, because I'm sure it will not play on my PS4. You said it was next gen, so my PS4 has to die on it. Maybe the spiders hatching out of those spider eggs, coming out of the Beanie Babies will eat it somehow, and they'll be, well, I don't have any choice. I got to get a PS5 now. But isn't I next gen? Are they doing discs anymore? Has everything gone online?
Some the other systems without discs, some's with, and then the Xbox Series S is the cheapest entry. It's about $200, and it doesn't have a disc, but plays all next gen games, so it's fun too.
Yeah, you know what? If it's $200, maybe that'll be the direction I go in. But anyway, this looks absolutely fantastic. And even though I always say I'll get into playing games, I go right back to playing the Lego games. games because apparently that's my level of commitment to video games. But like I said, I enjoy cutscene movies. I've watched Star Wars Battlefront 2 like a million times, watched the Cal Kestis ones. I don't know that I've seen the second one, but they're very enjoyable to me. But this looks just unbelievable. So I'm totally jazzed. Jessi, Aaron, I'm trying to remember, are you guys video gamers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so break it down.
I'm getting it. I'm getting this. Yeah. I have one of the systems that can do discs or not discs. So I have a PS5.
Oh, nice.
So I'm definitely gonna get it. I was actually, when they first kind of started it, I had to like do a double take because the graphics were so clean. I was like, these can't be the gameplay graphics. They almost look very like cinematic, you know what I mean? And then to find out that they are, I'm like, I am about that. I really, really like, it's almost like a next step up because like I really liked the Spider-Man that they came out.
Oh yeah,
the most one, and I thought the graphics in that were really fun. I thought the play style and that was really, really fun. I'm really excited about seeing like Chitala's dad being the OG Black Panther in a sense. I know they said it goes back a long line, but this is probably the farthest back in the line we're ever going to get a chance to play.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited to see that and see how that interaction goes and how that gameplay and that fighting style go. I wonder if it's going to be more similar to like the newer games we've seen. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it'll be fantastic. I'm really excited about the costumes. I think that was one of the coolest takes on a Captain America uniform, where it just looked like straight up like a World War II bomber jacket almost that he was wearing.
Can't wait to get that cosplay. I have a Cap video game jacket that's actually hanging in my little jacket menagerie on the other side of me here. That's all vinyl, so I've tried to wear it while recording and I'm like, yep, taking this off. Doesn't work down here. But yeah, I would love and again, somebody will produce that as soon as this game is out or even sooner. So but my brother gave me a long time ago, because he knows I'm a Cap cosplayer, a lot of web gear and like really like nice vintage World War II kind of belts and bobs and all that kind of stuff. So that could be, and I do have, he was the one who started me on that journey. He got me the Cap bucket that Cap wore in the first Avenger. So this could be a new thing for me. So we'll see. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I really like Black Panther's costume too. It kind of looked like the Marvel Knights Black Panther suit that T'Challa had. It's a really nice callback to that. Very stately and regal looking, and I'm excited about that one too.
It's good. It's good to be the king.
Yeah, there is a really good Captain America video game on the 360 PS3 era, which is hard to find. Yeah. I loved it. It was so amazing. It was really cool. It was set back in that's the same time period. Love it, but nice. Once again, it's hard to find.
Yeah,
if you can find it.
Yeah, so, I know a lot of those older games I look for have just disappeared. Like the old like Lego Star Wars games have just gone poof. So, all right. Well, Todd, you were particularly excited in the pre-roll about our last story. I couldn't touch it with the 10-foot pole, so that's all you, babe.
Yeah, certain franchises are special in my heart, and one of those franchises that, quite honestly, has been very quiet for a long time is Popeye. Popeye the Sailor Man. You know the song. You've seen the old cartoons. You've seen the Robin Williams movie from, I believe that was
82, 80 or 81.
I'm trying to remember.
Shelley Long and Paul. It's a guy who was in Star Trek. I'm sorry, but anyway, I can't remember the director. You have to look it up. And they filmed it. They filmed it on Malta in the Mediterranean. Like it had a real weird production story, as I recall.
Absolutely, it was a musical. It was Robert Altman was the director. And Robert Altman, he's not known for doing like superhero films. He's known for doing serious films. So it was a surprising movie that I believe did work. It was weird, and I enjoyed it for that. Just a lot of fun. And I loved the cartoons growing up. My dad was also a child of the early 30s. And it was something we'd watch together because they showed, you just remember as a young kid, they would show a lot of Popeye reruns, mostly in black and white. Absolutely loved them. I thought they were so much fun. You know, just a sailor man who he hated spinach, but if he ate it, he would gain superpowers essentially. And that was the whole joke. Basically, it was a big, they had a big campaign to eat your spinach. You know, Big Spinach finally got their hero to get people to eat their spinach. But it's essentially a series I think you could go back to and have fun with it. There was a rumored Genndy Tartakovsky CGI animated version, which I love. Gendy, I love, the original Clone Wars. You think of some of the things he's done, Hotel Transylvania. He's done Samurai
I
Jack.
thought you were going to say Hotel California. That would be a great new take.
Sure. Yeah. He's doing that too. So I wish that would have happened. It's not going to, but there is apparently going to be a live action Popeye film. So, it's going to be weird that would happen. The company that owns the IP, King Features, is still around.
Wow.
And Paramount Plus, this could go to Paramount. I'm not sure who actually would have the rights to it, King Features. But if this happened, this may be doomed, but I would love to see it happen again. But quite honestly, I just want a new Popeye cartoon. I love those so much, and they could do so much fun things, especially after, if you've watched any of the new Mickey Mouse cartoons on Disney, where they're reinvented, they go back, they play with the playfulness of those characters, and it just feels like, wow, they've given Mickey a personality again. And I feel like doing those type of cartoons with Popeye would really, really work. But that's just me. I may be the only dying breed that still yearns for Popeye.
Well,
Popeye.
It could be the things that bring him back. The film did come out in 1980, and again, it was Shelley Long, the late Robin Williams, and then Paul Dooley was Wimpy. There we go. He was again another that guy who was in Star Trek, which is the only way that I remember anything. Jessi and Aaron, where do you guys land with Popeye? Any connection?
So my parents really liked Popeye. I was a bit of a army brat because my dad was in the army, so we would take their collections of, back in the day, VHSs.
Oh my gosh.
We would take them when we were living overseas, like when we lived in Germany and stuff, so we would play a lot of older stuff. So I've actually seen the Popeye Robin Williams movie, which I liked. I just remember his arms being so incredibly big, and I
get through the
loved
door.
that. And I'm like, if you're doing a live action and his arms aren't giant, is it even Popeye? Like, I am like...
Yeah.
His arms need to be giant, okay?
You better not try to go too like realistic where he's like, Popeye is a Navy SEAL, and then it turns into,
I don't want that.
It's a show on CBS.
It would be fantastic. Popeye has a dark history.
Popeye the sniper. Oh, that's why he's Popeye. You gotta look through the scope. You're dead, Osama.
He was tortured with spinach. That's why he doesn't like it. It's like the torture.
No, it's PTSD. Oh, we are off the.
It writes itself.
Rails on this one. Oh my gosh, that's good. What about you, Aaron?
I completely agree. Like, if I don't see those ridiculous forearms, I'm going to be severely disappointed. That's where the bar is for me. You got to have those ridiculous arms. But yeah, I don't know. I love the Robin Williams version. I love the cartoons. It's hard for me to imagine who could pick up the torch and run with that role nowadays.
Right.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what they come up with. There's a lot of opportunity there, and I think they could do a lot of fun stuff with it.
Please give us big arms.
Yes,
big arms.
There is
hashtag big arms or bust.
Yeah, there is a Family Guy. They do like their little sides.
Yeah.
Essentially, Popeye goes see the doctor. He's like, "Sir, I think you've got cancer. Didn't you notice that your arms were getting a little bit big?" "Oh,
yeah." Sir, you have a brain tumor. He says, "What about me arms? Those are tumors." That's sad stuff.
Oh, me childhood.
Oh, my childhood, right in the childhood. All right, well, that takes us out of the news. But before we get into the excellent excitement of the rundown dive that is the Geek Easy, let me get my Feeble Uber app out so we can order it up. We do want to hear from our fantastic sponsor, so let's do that.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So we kick it off to Aaron and Jessi. What are you nerding out about in the world of geek?
You first?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I'm really excited about right now, I'm looking forward to starting. Netflix has just picked up the 3 Body Problem.
Oh, yeah.
And turned that into a live adaptation. Now that's a Chinese novel. It's pretty old. It has to do a lot with like the Fermi paradox and their philosophy of the dark forest as an answer to the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox being the idea that there are so many aliens mathematically, there should be so much life in the galaxy besides us. where are they? Why haven't we had contact with them? And the idea of the dark forest is that, well, if you're a higher living organism, it's easier for you to just destroy new life forms than it is to communicate with them. So it's a kind of the antithesis of Star Trek, and the idea of Starfleet and First Contact and all that. Instead of uplifting and talking to society, you wipe them out, you take their resources, and you move on. So the galaxy is this dark forest, and the only way to survive with a universe full of hunters is to stay hidden. So it's kind of an interesting concept, and it's a dark concept, but I'm really excited to see Netflix's take on that and how they did it with a live international cast. So I'm really excited to start that. So that's my plan for this week, is I'm going to be starting those episodes. And I'm reading a book right now, which very similar in thematic, called Blind Sight, which is a book called Peter Watts, written by Peter Watts. And it's another space sci-fi fantasy epic, and it has to play. There's vampires in it in the future who are part of this mission to space, and it's about encountering this alien life form. And the idea with this is that it's a creature that it's a life form that is highly intelligent, but it lacks consciousness. So it delves into these themes and ideas of consciousness and communication and what that means for us and our place in the universe, and really heady stuff. And I'm really excited about that. And
sounds like a life force.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot less naked space vampires in that one, though.
Maybe.
Pretty much, yeah. So those are the two big things on my kettle, and of course, I'm sure we'll get into later. X-Men '97. Super excited for that. So
I mentioned it earlier, but I'm actually getting caught up on House of Dragons because I got super stoked. So I'm only a couple of episodes in, so that's what I'm going to be finishing up coming up here. Got to finish up before the new stuff comes out. Very excited about that. And then we've been very excited about the new X-Men animated 97 that's come out. So that's been like kind of top tier for me. I'm actually working on an old school Jean Grey because it really kind of ignited some of that old stuff I wanted when I was a kid.
Yeah,
like,
I saw that on your Instagram. That was awesome.
So I love that. And I feel bad because like you're reading very like what you're watching and what you're reading is very similar, but mine's like I'm weirdly reading a Perot book. It's Murder on the Links, and it has nothing to do with anything else I'm watching.
You said Perot, really and I was like, when did Ross Perot get into writing? I thought he was dead.
Oh no!
No, Hercule.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hercule.
I know.
Hercule Perot, yeah.
Great. I love that.
Great news about House of Dragons. I apologize for the spoiler. Great happy ending to the season. Great happy ending.
Oh, really?
No,
Yay.
not at all. Not at all.
Ends well, yeah.
No, not
Yeah,
at
they do
all.
high five in the air and go, "Oh yeah, dragons!"
Two dragons go. Yeah, big time. Yeah.
All right, I'm looking forward to even more now.
Oh my gosh! Super great happy ending.
You ever see a dragon on a surfboard?
Yeah, right. Yeah, riding Jesus with the dragon head riding on a surfboard. There you go. That's all you could ever want.
It's the action figure this Easter.
Oh my gosh, good stuff. Oh
yeah. Okay. Well, I'll break the seal on X-Men 97. Charlie and I did the kind of look back on 5 episodes from the essential series. By the way, there is a X-Men 92 comic book that Chris Claremont wrote, actually.
Really?
That is not tied to the comic, but basically it's set in more adventures in that era with that team.
Okay, gotcha.
Check that out. There's also an X-Men 97 comic book coming out as well, which is actually kind of covering some areas within that is more tied to the comic. So if you want more of that is all coming. It's there. We've got the action figures updated. We've got a lot of the cool stuff. So it feels like there's a fever pitch on X-Men 97.
Have you got the fever?
It is exactly. And this is what we would say is a direct sequel that never stopped. This is taking place like right after X-Men 97. We kick it off with, if you watch the end of the series, they do a good job of what you missed at the very beginning of X-Men 97, which is great. There's 2 episodes out. They're coming out then weekly on Disney Plus. So stay tuned for that. Now, this series, it's actually, it's kind of weird because the lead creator was let go.
Right. Yeah.
Odd.
Yeah. That was the story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there's some things saying it because he had an OnlyFans page, which kids.
People
don't know.
People are super down on that. I've definitely noticed the OnlyFans. Yeah, a week doesn't go by that you don't see some junior high teacher that she got let go because of her OnlyFans page. Come on, you guys. Let people earn a living. It's okay. You know what?
It's weird.
Adult choices.
Wow.
Yeah, so Bo DeMeo is the person, but essentially he has finished his work on season 2 of this as well. So I don't think it'll impact what's already done and complete, but it is a shame because I feel like he's nailed the feel of the series.
Totally.
And the other part I think is a huge win is Studio Mir is doing all the animation. Studio Mir is an excellent studio. They have great chops, and I'm trying to look up really quick right now what they've done. So they're a South Korean studio. They've done Legend of Korra, Black Dynamite, Voltron, which I love the new series. They've done the Harley Quinn series, My Adventures with Superman, Devil May Cry. So they did Young Justice Outsiders. So they've got a really good, the work they've done has really been great. It's been updated and it looks cool and it can be used for many different styles. So that's kind of the background of the show. And it does have a lot of returning voice actors, not everyone, obviously, but and then we do have, kind of where the series is going now. It's kind of, I've set this table, but all I want to say is, I love this to pieces. The animation is so much better.
Oh my God.
The voice acting is so much better. The song, my only frustration is they took out the bell. That, if you notice, the bell is gone now, which is like, why?
Always something. I know. And that just ruined it for you, huh? It's like, man, I'm a 9.993 on my rating, but took out that bell. It's toast.
And one of the things I want to say before I want to raise opinions about the shows, why does Gambit when he goes out, like just hanging out like at the mall? Why doesn't he just wear street clothes? He's always got to wear his whole damn costume. What? Come on, Gambit.
Yeah, I know.
He's not exactly like low cover.
It's a Star Wars outfit. Remember, in Star Wars, they get one new outfit per movie. So Luke just always had to wear, his farm boy outfit for like 3, and then in Empire he had his new duds, and then that was all you got. Obviously, if there's a Walmart for mutants, mutant Walmart, whatever it is, that's all there is in his size. Maybe he's a special size. You don't know.
Just borrow one of Wolverine's many plaid shirts. He's got plenty. But other than that, the last thing, I swear this is the last thing. Cyclops has finally been redeemed. He's not an idiot. He does say not, which I love because it's so 90s. And very 90s. Yeah, I love it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll make mine brief because again, the heavy emotional investment I know lands certainly with Aaron because we've talked about it. And then Todd, you being such a big X-Men guy, I kind of circle at the periphery in my rewatch of X-Men 92. I would say the episodes we watched was not a favorable experience because I didn't really grow up watching it. And when it first dropped on Disney Plus 2 or 3 years ago, I watched the first 2 and I was like, this is awful. And I turned it off. But again, in 1992, I was in high school. I mean, Todd's a year older than me, so he was as well, but I didn't have that serious kind of emotional investment in the X-Men. And like my figure collecting partner, Derek, this is very big for him. We've had conversations and debates about it, and I know it's very big. Certainly you with Aaron, and then Jessi will get your take as well. But absolutely love what I've seen so far. It's great. And I know we jumped in, we got the classic Trial of Magneto, which was from X-Men 200 back in
200 supersize.
Yeah, supersize.
The Fenris twins.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It was back in, I think, 1985. And then they jumped into, I'm not familiar with the Executioner song, but we did get that kind of within that same episode.
Executioner is such a later character.
Yeah.
He was like in the 90s, so it's so weird. Yeah, you have something from 200, which is in the 80s to
85.
It's a mixing of the storylines, which
gotcha.
The cartoon has always done.
Yeah, which I thought they did very well. So I'm cool. I'm invested. I'm excited to keep watching it. But without further ado, I'll turn it over to our own Wonder Twins, Aaron and Jessi, to give us their take. So guys, take it away.
Okay, so this was prime Saturday morning cartoon stuff for us when the original came out. So much that when they announced this and like literally when we hear that music, it's like our jam. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can run like 25 more minutes on the treadmill if I've got that looping in my head. I'm like, let's go. Okay, so we were really excited about it. We made a whole thing out of it. It came out and we went and we bought our childhood cereals. We got up early in the morning. We pretended that Wednesday was like our Saturday morning. We still had to go to work, but we got up early. We ate our cereal. We sat down, and the feels were hardcore parkour. Not only that, like I checked in with some of my other friends, like it was a similar experience of just like reliving these very positive, wonderful like childhood memories. It felt very realistic in an era where I feel so often things that were in the past that were fan favorites and things that people like, they change it so much, and it's always something that's revamping, something new, something different, something not like what we remembered. It was so incredibly refreshing to literally go from the last thing I had ever seen right into picking it up. Like it was like checking in with someone and realizing that they were like a close friend of yours and they're still there for you. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's very weirdly, warmly nostalgic. I loved all the voice. I actually think the voice actor for Wolverine got better at being Wolverine, more gruff of a voice. So I'm like, this is the time space we needed. People really like hardcore polish their skills. They were good before. They're the best now. They're so great. And I really like everyone's outfits. And I will say this much. Gambit's beignet outfit. That was that. You could wear that out. I'd be okay with that. Like
the dude crop top was it was a fashion choice that was very popular in the 80s for some reason. Yeah, everybody was doing it.
You saw it on stage. Bands like Rat and Warrant maybe. Quick note about the costumes, and I shared this on our Secret Friends Discord, which if you're not there, it's the most fun place on all of Discord. People complaining about the reduction in Rogue's butt shots. She's now spotting the pancake ass, and people do not like it. So, wow, the things people pick on.
Okay, realistically speaking, everybody, if you go watch the old stuff, there are plenty of scenes I can cut where her ass looks similar, okay? It's the angle. Yeah, she was in the don't kill me, this is my hot ass vibe. Okay, yeah, right. That one shot.
So wait, do we need to call in the ass forensic detectives?
You're saying she employed some kind of ass hypnotism to try to ward off? It was another mutant power? She had too.
Who she touched to gain that ass, but something happened.
Don't worry.
Ass thief.
Don't worry. Fast forward to 2015, Rogue will be all about the junk in the trunk again. It'll all...
Yeah, that butt's got to make a comeback. It
comes around again.
She stole it just like she stole Carol Danvers' powers. That's Carol Danvers' ass. Sorry. There you go. Sorry. It's Carol Danvers' ass. They got it. All right.
Hey, when you're flying, do you really want to have, it's not very aerodynamic to have.
I can't get the lift I need. Oh, okay. We're getting off of this. Aaron, please.
Yeah, no, it was great. We had a lot of fun with our fake Saturday morning breakfast date.
Which cereals did you eat?
Had my claws out, ready to go.
What cereal did you eat?
I had Reese's Puffs.
Nice.
And I had off-brand Cocoa Puffs because my mom never bought on-brand.
Oh, my. Yeah. Todd, where is one of those Kellogg and one of those General Mills?
No, both are General. Well, not the off-brand, but they're both General Mills.
Right, okay,
so.
I was afraid that the other one was Kellogg, which Todd.
Cocoa Puffs. I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Todd works for one of those two companies. I can't tell you which one.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
We had I think I kind of second everything Jessi said. I felt the same way. I will say that there were a couple of scenes where I'm not an emotional person, but I got kind of felt a little something, especially when we got to see Storm unleash her power at the end of the first level, bring them the cast, and then the sand turning to glass beneath her feet and everything. Oh, it was so cool.
Intense.
Just everything about it was everything I had hoped for and more. And a lot of those characters, when I read the comics and everything, those are the voices that I hear. Cal Dodd to me is the voice of Wolverine, and just hearing him come back and reprise that role again. Oh, it was amazing. It was fantastic.
Awesome. Good deal.
I do wonder, though, is it gives something away when Storm always has to declare what's going to happen? I mean, that's not exactly stealthy here, folks.
Like Triton saying, name or no, it's Triton.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Storm, no,
also
it's Storm.
kind of a nod to how powerful she is. She can literally
she's a goddess.
What she's about to do when you're still not going to stop her.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good point.
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Just getting the job done. All right, well, let me take us home. I've got some quick bites. I've watched some dumb stuff and I watched some serious stuff. I did catch, thanks to the fact that Amazon is in all of our faces all the time, I did know that the new interpretation of the 1989 classic Roadhouse was dropping on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime Video, you've got it anyway, so you don't even try to resist. But this was a remake casting Jake Gyllenhaal in the titular role of Dalton. And the arch nemesis, other bad guy, was
It's Colin, the Colin,
I was
the
trying
Irish,
mixed martial arts. Colin, what's his nuts? Yeah, real crazy. Real crazy. McGregor. Conor McGregor. There we go. Oh my God. And
real life Roadhouse man.
Right, and the other starring character was from she was a Daily Show correspondent back in the day. Jessica James, I think is her name. Yeah, believe it or not, African American woman. So this remake in every way possible. First of all, I don't understand the incidents of people getting into just decking people and getting into fights in bars. Everybody has guns these days. I don't think people are just up and punching each other the way they did in the original film back in, as I said, 1989, which we turn around and watch. Patrick Swayze was the star. You had a bunch of other that guys in it, but Patrick Swayze was the only one you paid attention to. This remake, first of all, the original film was not great, even though it had an appearance by Jeff Healey, who was a one-hit wonder, great Canadian blues rock guy from
Angel Eyes,
yeah, Angel Eyes
song, slide guitar.
Yeah, he was great, even though he was just a bit weird looking. This remake was god awful. There was nothing about this that worked. I did read some subsequent articles that said Conor McGregor had the biggest payday of his career to play this role. Boy, did they get taken. That's where Bezos's money is going. I'm telling you, just pay off on this project. This was
acting role or like professional role.
I think just period. This was like he got $5.5 million to do this role. Yeah.
Why?
That's a damn fine question, because every teeny weeny bit of this was terrible. Absolutely dreadful. It was a retelling of the same old story. The setting shifted from a town in Missouri to the Florida Keys, where our Jessica James character had inherited the Roadhouse, which was right on the ocean. Turns out it was in the way of a development that the local smarmy guy wanted to do. So definitely similarities to the original plot there. And it was just a bunch of punching and kicking, and you just don't know why people get into fights like this, because again, in the modern century, not that I'm trying to make light of gun violence, I feel like everybody's got a gun, so it would just be people shooting each other, which wouldn't make for good anything. So I don't know, a little bit, it's a little bit off adaptation wise for the times, but no matter what, it's not like they took a fresh page out of it. Anything was different. It was dreadful. So absolutely skippable. And I think it was 2 hours long, which I'm like, that's about at least a half hour longer than it needs to be. So there, you're welcome. I watched it for you. So skip it. Anybody have any fondness of the original Roadhouse? Todd, Jessi, Aaron, anybody?
As a teen boy who was on a soccer team, and in small town Lapeer, it was shown at the Pix Theater. We were at soccer practice the next day, and we're like, did you see Roadhouse? Oh my God, he ripped that guy's throat out. It was so cool. Swayze kicked ass, and Sam Shepard told him how to be awesome.
Oh.
It was great. Small town hijinks. And Charlie, you don't think everybody back in the Roadhouse days had guns? It's a Roadhouse, man. They're all packed.
You didn't see it, but like today, that's just everybody. But I love it how they in this movie have
everybody in a Roadhouse, man. They didn't care.
They have the biker
gun laws back then.
The biker gangs come in, and just for no reason they start tearing the place. They don't even have a reason to be tearing things apart. Just like, hey, buddy, start breaking pool cues and pushing people around and give me your drink. It's just. I would love to say people don't act like that, but you know what? This is why I don't spend time in a Roadhouse. So Jessi and Aaron, any Roadhousing for you guys?
For me, it's always that we've done it a couple of times where we're witness to violence. That Family Guy joke of Roadhouse.
Roadhouse, exactly. My favorite.
That's my only understanding of Roadhouse is
That's-
the Family Guy.
And
Roadhouse.
I'm telling you, that's all you need to know. All right, well, moving on to something quite somber and serious. Over on Max, they have a new documentary, 3-part documentary called Quiet on the Set, which has to do with Nickelodeon and the kid shows of the late 1990s leading all up almost to present day, focusing around a former actor that I knew from a great show that I love called Head of the Class, which was in the 1980s. Todd, I know you know Howard Hessman was the star, and then had a lot of other people that went on to great things. But this guy,
Robin Givens.
yeah, Robin
wife
Givens,
of-
exactly.
of Mike Tyson.
Yeah, talk about fall from grace if there was such a thing. But at any rate, Dan Schneider, who played the heavyset character Dan, I think Dan was the character's name, went into children's programming and became a huge influence in that business. But this 3-part documentary revealed that he was a complete megalomaniac, a narcissist, a sexist, just an overall really terrible human being, and how so many of those shows, and again, it really did focus on Nickelodeon going from the late 1990s all the way through almost present day. They revealed that one of the shows had, 3 different pedophiles who worked on the set that were never caught. There was a revelatory about actor Drake Bell and his experience making that show that he made Drake and Josh, and how it tied back into this plot line. It was horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. Be cautious. I'm going to put a viewing advisory on this. If you've ever dealt with anything like that in your own life, just be cautious watching this. But it's terrifying. It's terrifying, thinking of people who, whether inadvertently or decidedly focused, putting their children in situations like this in the entertainment industry, that these kind of things can happen, whether there are safeguards in place or whether safeguards are now in place because of this story. So it is. I am curious to see what kind of impact this documentary will have. And again, it just dropped this week. It all dropped, like I said, I think in 3 or 4 segments over on Max. I am curious to see what impact this will have on the industry in general. So this has anybody else touched on this series yet, or am I the only one?
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it until now.
No, but I usually like watching documentaries and things like this, especially when they talk about topics like this, because like you said, if there aren't situations, if there aren't things put in place to prevent something like this from happening again, not talking about it isn't going to change anything.
Precisely,
so at least
yeah.
having a documentary, as unfortunate as it is, that covers these things that happen, hopefully some positive thing can come out of it, which is that we can move forward protecting child stars. That's terrible.
That was terrifying. Todd, have you're aware that where the show, or have you checked it out?
I've been following this one quite a lot because there's been some YouTube videos about this, and kind of before this came out, and I was reading all about it, and it's great because they actually it's not great, but it's great that this is happening. Drake Bell is kind of one of the major people that is getting interviewed, because a lot of his cast members didn't even know all these things were happening to him, because there was a case against one of the production people that actually was sued for sexual assault and pedophilia against Drake Bell, and people didn't know that, so they're reaching out to him finally. Dan Schneider actually has had a 20-minute response to this saying, "I apologize," everything like this, but it's dollar late. Whatever. It's too late for that, because people are conflicted. We had other characters have come out, and they showed like scenes that were kind of very questionable about showing
very
kids'
much so
feet. Ariana Grande, she was on a couple of the shows, putting water on her face and doing some things that were very questionable. One character that Dan created the name of the character, her last name was Taint, and things that were funny to him, that particularly as time goes on, and of course these kids don't know any. And again, this guy was such a juggernaut, and like I said, he was a megalomaniac. Just to listen to the way that he was described by his staff, too big to fail,
is that nobody could touch him. He would fire people at a whim. He would humiliate people as a matter of course. He was just not a good guy. And so Nickelodeon broke ranks with him a number of years back, and he's I understandably trying to claw his way back, but hopefully he never sees the light of day again. I think that this shining a light, to Jessi's point, will be something, see something, say something. That is the way things that need to exist with abuse and with people being taken advantage of. You can't just be like, oh God, that's, I don't want to put myself at risk if you're someone who's in that same environment, but put yourself at risk, save somebody's life, because poor Drake Bell is, destroyed his life. Absolutely. It went on to detail, kind of what his life has been like since that time. And it's not a pretty story. So I would say, just to put a cap on it, if this is something that anything similar has ever touched your life, that's like this, just be cautious. And if it's too much, back off, because it doesn't get any better as it goes on. But yeah, it's a tough watch. So, all right, let me cap this off. I have one little quick bite. This is a quick bite. Haha. Todd, you watched this, I think, last fall or something.
In theater.
Yeah. In the theater. It was the last voyage of the Demeter is the Dracula on a Boat movie, which came out, I think, last Halloween season. Stars Corey Hawkins, who was Dr. Dre in the NWA movie. He was also Heath. He was Heath in a couple seasons of The Walking Dead, but he plays this is taking place at the end of the 17th century, and it has to do with a boat voyage from Romania, or Bulgaria, as they describe it, back to England, and a mysterious piece of cargo that just happens to be something that goes on to kill everyone. And I dug it. Great horror in its own way. Again, a bit corny, because any jump scare, anything is going to be corny. The flashes of lightning. You had a great CGI animated, I suppose, probably combined with practical effects, very Nosferatu looking Dracula's creature that, as it consumes, it gets stronger and scarier. It grows wings. And one thing I noticed at the end, because right at the end, everybody's getting killed off and they're playing to scuttle the ship so that Dracula drowns, because I guess Dracula can drown. I guess they're very fast and loose with the rules about how people get transformed.
Can't be separated from his soil. That was the big thing,
right?
About dumping his soil.
Yes, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, he has grown wings. But any of the people he kills, he slaughters right away. But at the end of it, he has our main character cornered, and they have an actual fight where he does the thing. I never understand this in a fight when the villain is going to kill the hero. He picks him up and then he throws him instead of just killing him. But in this, he has him and he puts a cut on his neck, and then he chokes him a little bit, but it gives it just enough time for somebody else to save him. So yeah, there's a lot of very corny tropes illustrated in this. And they had a real start your engines moment at the end where it's like, we're setting this up for a sequel, because anyway, I don't want to spoil it. But it's fun. It's on
because of Bram Stoker, because it's basically a chapter from that book where we know Nina has to show up. So it's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or I don't think a sequel happened because this movie didn't do very well. But,
yeah, exactly. But anyway, it's over on Showtime, which you can access through Paramount Plus, because they've lumped them all together. So big sunny, funny Showtime. Aaron and Jessi, where do you get Jessi? You had said horror movies aren't that big for you. Do you have any love of Dracula, Aaron?
Oh yeah, I love it. I remember seeing the trailers for this and being excited for it.
Yeah.
I haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but I've got Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll that out.
Good deal. Yeah, jump on in there. All right. Well, that takes us out of the Geek Easy. Time to skip out on that check yet again, because I'm pretty sure somebody spit in my burger. But I've got to get that Air Qantas app. Time to get down to the land down under. Hologram Tina and the mutants waiting for us as always. And this week we're talking about something that makes you feel good. That would be busting. We'll be right back.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we are doing our discussion, spoiler-filled, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. When the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force, Ghostbusters new and old must join forces to protect their home and save the world from a second ice age. Budget of $100 million.
$100, yep. $100.
Gil Keenan directed this. Both he and Jason Reitman wrote this. And the majority of the cast of characters is coming back from the last film, but we are joined by Camille Nanjiani, Patton Oswalt.
Yes!
We are getting... Annie Potts is getting a bigger role in this, which is great. William Atherton, And that's kind of the major faces and names of
Right.
this movie. So because we have two Ghostbusters with us who were probably busting ghosts along with them
In the theater,
when it
probably.
happened. Exactly. We want you to kind of take us through this movie, and Charlie and I will give our 2 cents along the way.
Do you want to start?
I can start us off. I mean, it was really interesting. They did something that we've never seen in a Ghostbusters film before. Right off the gate, we got a flashback sequence to early 1900s New York, with a dark, stormy situation going. We're seeing a group of firemen coming to an emergency situation at what was it? The Manhattan Adventures
Club.
Right.
Yes.
A group of rich assholes, as our Patton's character describes it, which I love.
Correct.
Yeah. So they go inside and they're seeing some smoke coming in through the door. And I remember watching it with Jessi, and she leans into me and she says, as the door is sucking back, the smoke is sucking back into the door, she leans into me and she goes, typically you don't see that kind of behavior in smoke. And I was like, yeah, no.
Typically you don't see that kind of behavior in a major appliance.
Right. So they put their hand on the door and find the door is freezing cold. And the one of the firemen hurts his hand from the cold, and they bust inside to go check it out, and everyone is frozen in place. There's a creepy old phonograph that's playing, and it's playing some sort of a chant going on as they're investigating the room. They find a strange figure in the corner in this bronze metallic armor holding this orb, and as they approach, she opens up her eyes and the camera goes into the orb and it goes dark and we get to see some eyes in the shadow there. And
which is our first look at the big spook, basically, which was very intimidating because it was just eyes. They left it to your imagination, which is very creepy.
Yep. So
I'm going to ask a question really quick. If you guys find a record or a recording that you don't know what it is, it's creepy and stuff, do you play it? I'm assuming the answer should be no.
Well, it was already planned.
Protocol is we take a scan of it to make sure, and then we play it in the appropriate setting for science.
Well, it's like I always say, when you're a Ghostbuster, the important thing to remember is we have to make our own economy. So if you see something creepy like that, you just go head on in. You don't ask questions, and then you roll with it.
Yeah,
it's fine.
You just unleash more ghosts.
It's in the quote unquote handbook. I'm sure there's a handbook.
Okay,
it's fine.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, fast forward to present day, and what do we get at present day?
Yeah, so it's kind of cool because it immediately jumps into some action. It's the new crew, for lack of better words, that we have discovered from the previous movie for Afterlife, and they have wholeheartedly taken up the mantle. They're running around and causing some property damage as they do a bust. It is one of just a few busts that we see in the movie, but it's actually really well done. We get to see some new gear, new equipment. I really liked how they added the trap to drone technology, so now it can go up. Ghosts can go up. That was important. And that was really well done, I thought. And so that's really where it kind of spring loads us from there, letting us know that it's the same crew, but it is in basically the home of the Ghostbusters, New York City, back at the old Hooks and Ladders. That's basically it's kind of a nice homecoming, but also you can feel like they're still kind of feeling themselves out, still kind of working with it. You can see that the mayor of the city reprising his role is not too happy.
Walter Peck.
Oh yes, old Dickless here, which even
still around.
Even somebody yelled that out at the end of the movie. Yeah, Dickless here. He looked
still around.
He looked a little worse. He looked a little worse for wear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Yeah. And so then the plot kind of moves forward from there.
Well, we get an important dialogue with Walter Peck because he's upset about the fact that Phoebe is a minor.
Oh, that's
and
true.
And they've got her hanging out the side of the extramobile.
She's 15, right?
Yep. 15.
And her brother is 18 because he's an adult now.
Right.
So
that's why you got to go tete-a-tete with a certain character who's behind Todd.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Phoebe, because she's a minor and an unpaid intern, essentially, she gets benched because Walter Peck says there's no way you can have a kid this young on the job. It's a dangerous job.
Hanging out of the bucket seat that swings out
Right.
in traffic.
And
There's no Ghostbusters union.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or insurance, probably. Well, they must have insurance with all the property damage they do, but they have Winston, their benefactor.
Winston.
He's like Bruce
Well,
Wayne.
I'm not sure how canon the video game is, but originally they became city contractors, so they were actually insured by the city of New York at one point.
I think I have heard that Ghostbusters game is considered canon, but you guys know better than me.
Yeah, in my mind and heart, it will always be canon.
My heart.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
My heart
It's a
goes
great
on.
game.
There's nothing to disprove that it's not canon in any of the recent movies, so it's perfectly acceptable for everyone to just assume it is.
Very good. I like it.
So we get a series of storyline continues to progress. We get to see what Ray's been doing. Ray is now hosting a podcast
With podcast.
podcast, which we are talking about on a podcast. So circle is complete.
Podcastception.
Yeah. So that's a bucket list for me right there. We're done.
Is there a real podcast though based on that podcast?
Ooh.
That would be
Ooh.
cool.
I will look into that.
And is the
I
kid
don't-
I love
podcast a podcaster? I bet he is.
Yeah, I mean the whole premise of it was people bring haunted objects to Ray. He scans them with the PKE meter to see if they're actually haunted or not, and then podcast very lovingly, diligently, and with great care and respect smashes it with a hammer.
It's
If it's
Haunted
not-
Roadshow.
Got to get
It's
those.
Haunted
Yeah.
Roadshow.
Got to get those
It's
clicks. It's the
Haunted
only way.
Roadshow, yeah.
Yeah,
But they break the artifacts if they're not haunted, and the implication is that he just buys more weird stuff for his shop if it is haunted. So,
Right.
So so we get introduced to a new character as a result of this podcast. He's I'm trying to remember the actor's name.
It's Kumail Nanjiani.
Kumail.
Yeah.
And he plays Nadim Razmati.
I could
That's
not
his name in the role.
remember his name for the life of me watching this movie. I would say that is not Aziz Ansari, who it's another Indian
Yeah.
actor, but I'm just like, it was the only two of them I knew. I felt terrible.
He's a phenomenal actor and comedian.
Come on, Charlie. You remember him from Eternals?
No, I do not.
He was the best part of Eternals, hands down.
Yes, he was the most fun because he's a comedic actor. No one else in that movie was fun at all. But anyway,
Right. Well, his character in this is really amazing. Is really funny too. Like
Yeah.
his whole thing is he's basically just there to make a buck.
He's
Anyway,
a loser. Yeah, he
Yeah.
has things in common with what is this?
with Rick
Trevor.
Moran- Oh
Because
yeah,
they're like, yeah, I don't have any goals. Neither do I.
yeah, right.
They're best buddies.
well, yeah, I felt he had some definite shades of Venkman in his character. With
Yeah.
the way he was,
Yep.
kind
Yeah.
of a con guy, kind of a swarmy guy. Anyway, his grandmother recently passed away, and he came into inheritance with a lot of her stuff. And among the stuff that he brings to Ray's bookstore to try and pawn off is this mysterious orb, which just so happens to be the very orb we see in the opening.
What?
sequence.
I can't believe it.
So, of course, Ray takes a PKE reading, and the whole thing is off the charts. It gets a huge, massive surge of power, and we see it seems to affect most of New York. We get to see some storms happening, and the containment unit starts to buckle a little bit and crack as a result of.
of just scanning it, really, just
Yeah.
applying any kind of technology to this
Right.
this mysterious orb. Of course, Nadim's character is completely oblivious to all that. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is one of the good ones," and he uses that moment to kind of fleece a little bit more cash out
More
of the
cheddar. Yeah.
Yeah, I could only part with it for $50.
Right,
Right,
right. So, yeah. And Ray's just, of course, excited about it. So he's just like, yeah, sure, here, I'll take. Yeah, here you go.
$50. I mean, shooting low. I mean,
especially in New York City these days. Maybe 500 or $1,000. I would think so, but.
I don't know if anybody noticed, but Ray ended up just giving him $100.
He did.
Yeah.
And the
yeah,
guy was like,
I just saw
"No
money came
change."
out of his pocket.
I get
He's like,
change.
"Oh, I have no change, bye," and then just
Yeah, right.
leaves.
It's not real, anyways. He'd be asking for Venmo or
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So then we go back to the firehouse, and we get to see that they're having trouble with the containment unit, and they start realizing, has anybody emptied this thing since the 80s? Have we just been putting Ghost in here this entire time with no end game?
Yeah.
Annie Potts, of course, is here at this point as Janine, and she has this great comment where she's like, it was the 80s. Nobody was thinking about the future back then.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
That was
surprised
very
he
cool.
doesn't dump the toxic ghost and slime right in the Hudson, right?
That's where it
Just
belongs.
goes in there.
That's where it belongs.
Yeah.
That's where that stuff goes.
That would have been my solution. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Make your own economy.
yeah, make your own economy. That is my creed as a Ghostbuster.
Well, I guess.
I think I made that joke in our last special about us making our own economy because my
The
solution
gig economy,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
I
in surge.
was like-
We're in surge timing right now.
Yeah. Oh, the
Yeah,
rates are going up. Yep. It's like Uber.
Yeah,
it's like Uber.
when we filmed our special, that was my solution to beat the ghost. Was just hey, give him what he wants. It's fine. We'll handle it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so they end up going to go check out Winston's new outfit to find a solution for this
Right.
ghost problem.
Which is really cool because this is where we're discovering that they've actually been working kind of behind the scenes with this whole, like, they've got a lab almost set up that's
Right.
got all this very cool, like, experimental ghost technology, if you will.
And they got their own. We love symbols and symbioology. They have their own little Ghostbuster symbol that's built into a cog. A big.
I
wheel.
love that.
Yeah.
That ghost symbol looks so cool.
It was kind of reminiscent of our patches that we have, where we have the state of Michigan.
Aha.
No, but theirs is a cog. And
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Just like all of us in
Um,
SFI, all of our chapters, we have our own individual patches. So
Yeah.
yeah, same deal.
Yeah,
it's
and we
kind
get reintroduced to Annie Potts, who
Yeah.
first she's like, she's mysterious about certain things, and then that kind of leads her. And I'm glad to see Annie Potts is back.
Right.
Really, at this point, we're really lacking two of the original. I don't think we'll ever get
Rick Moranis back.
maybe
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver will show up.
She was.
Maybe.
She was in the last one. She was in one of the end credit scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, not here. And yeah, because she and Venkman are married or whatever. That's what we saw in that end credit scene in the last film movie.
Yeah, well, certainly. So what do they find at Winston's new setup?
Oh, so they've got this, like, really cool device that, on top of the fact that they've got this new containment unit that's, it sounds like it's basically empty, and they're like, well, we made a bigger one now, so if we figure something out to get the ghost out of the small one, we can put it in the big empty one. But while they're there tinkering around, a couple of really interesting things. They have this device that allows them to pull haunted spirits out of the haunted objects, like spirits out of the haunted objects, and then allows them to contain them rather quickly, which is a really cool device. It definitely can take care of a lot of those, like, haunted things you see on, like, eBay or the internet or whatever like that. And then the other one is that they've made these weird, almost like a zoo type thing for certain types of ghosts. They have certain enclosures where they can study them, and they're using technology to keep them in those rooms. And some of the designs were really, really cool.
That big one was the bomb. That was pretty cool.
The big one was the words. Oh, so
They were
cool.
very reminiscent to some of the signs we see in the new tie-in video game Spirits Unleashed.
Correct. A
Yeah.
lot of the tie-ins for that.
Like the possessor is actually an enemy that you can fight in the video game.
Ooh,
Mhm.
nice.
Which
Awesome.
is cool. And they have said that links up. You can actually go into Ray's shop in the game, and it looked very much like this shop when we were at Ray's shop. So there's a lot of overlap there, which is really kind of cool. A lot
Nice.
of little nods to that. I really liked the concept of the possessor ghost and how they used it inside of this inside of the film. But it's at the lab that they see all of these things, and they're like, okay, we're gonna try to work a solution out for this. And you can go from there.
Well, of course, then we have the rest of the team. They're still doing the whole Ghostbusters thing, but we don't really get to see so much of that because most of it we get from the perspective of Phoebe. Phoebe's kind of the new main character and the flagship character of the show. So we're kind of seeing things from her perspective, and she's getting left behind because she's been benched on this whole thing. And you can tell that it's really weighing on her and putting a lot of strain on her relationship with her family. So she ends up going out on her own. And she sets up a chessboard in the park, where they have those chessboards that you can go and
Right.
and
And
play.
it totally made sense that a 15-year-old girl would be alone in Central Park at night. That seems like that's something that happens all the time in New York City.
I'm like, that seems definitely safer than bringing her along with her family on a ghost bus.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, believe it or not, it probably is safer.
Probably is safer.
Well, she starts playing solo chess by herself, and then all of a sudden the chess pieces start to move in kind of a familiar nod back to Afterlife, where we were introduced to the ghost of Egon, and for a second there we're thinking, could this be another cameo from Egon?
That's what I
Are we
was thinking,
seeing
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. But then this female ghost, who's on fire appears before Phoebe and introduces herself. And I kind of feel like Phoebe felt like the rest of us when she saw her. She was kind of like, oh.
Phoebe kind of mimicked the audience member of being like a little disappointed that it wasn't, you know, who she and we had hoped she would be. I did like the flame effect that they did on a spirit.
It was pretty cool. And they didn't make it gross. Not like her head was on fire, you know, but
right. And like she didn't look
it was pretty
gross
fire.
scary. It
right.
was like
it was
pretty dead. I guess there's scary dead and there's pretty dead, and this was the pretty dead.
And that's actress. I'm gonna blank on her name. I believe it's Emily Allen Lind, the Lind.
Playing Melody.
Yeah, and she is a trio of three sisters who are seen in a lot of genre related stuff. I think the third sister is a little bit more high, but I looked her up because I was like, oh, I know her because she was in. I've already forgotten what we saw her in, but they have been in, you know, like a lot of genre stuff. But yeah.
I was going to ask, I mean, we did have Egon obviously show up at the end, but kind of like out of the blue, but I'm always wondering if they've ever met another non-threatening human ghost that they could talk with. You know, it's like, you know, we usually get the Slimer, we get the more
we don't because you don't get ghosts that talk. You get ones that, you know, we had a great cameo when they do
a librarian.
Yeah, you see the librarian, which was the very first ghost we met in all of Ghostbusters when they're in the library later. And she goes shh, and then she screams, and then all Slimer does is scream and make noises, and then the other ghosts just fly around and tear stuff up. So I feel like we've only had Egon who couldn't speak. And then we have Melody, who is just like a normal conversational person. Yeah. So it's weird. It doesn't seem to be a lot of internal rules on that stuff. But again, it's one of those. What are the rules about vampires? You know, they're whatever the hell you want them to be because it's not real, ostensibly. But, yeah.
And we haven't had a lot of, except for like the video game, a lot of like those, you know, the most we got typically has been from the cartoon side,
right?
Where you have more of those mini adventures, and maybe they've had some crossovers and things like that. But in this instance, it was interesting to me because she obviously didn't mention it to anyone that, hey, I'm talking to a ghost,
right? Yeah,
which
it became kind of her secret friend, for lack of a better expression.
And they united. They formed a podcast.
Yeah.
And we come full circle.
Oh, we've doubled the circle. We've gone 720 degrees.
So what happens next? She's befriended Melody. Melody's kind of helping her deal with her issues a little bit. They become close.
Yeah, they both seem to have they're going through some similar emotional stuff, I guess you could say. And so they really connect based on that. And you know, it seems like she's reluctant to share that with them, almost because since she's been cut out of the Ghostbusters, maybe she doesn't feel like, well, then I'm not a Ghostbuster. I don't have to share this information with you. And this is something just for me, maybe. I don't know. But she doesn't really tell anyone, even like when she later like will interact with, you know, podcast, her other friend that's an alive friend. She doesn't really tell him about it, which, you know, kind of maybe seems that it's something she wants to keep to herself, something very, very for herself. But while the family's out, for lack of words, while the team is out on a bust, we see the phone ring, we see her pick it up. You know, she's obviously disappointed that she can't go with them, even though, you know, the dad figure's kind of like, hey, I want you to know it doesn't suck forever. Eventually be back on the team. This isn't a permanent thing. He's trying to reach out to her, but it's just not
Paul Rudd's character.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd's character.
Yeah, Gary Gruberson, great name.
Yeah, he's trying to reach out, but like, you know, she's full of a lot of these emotions that she's struggling to process herself, and so she can't meet him halfway here.
Right.
And then of course the conversation gets cut short. Yeah. Everybody leaves. And then she gets another call. So this is when she's like, well, then she's going to suit up herself. She always goes with a buddy, I guess. So she calls podcast and they decide we're going to do this bust ourselves.
To go on foot, or maybe they took an Uber, though I would think taking the packs on would be difficult.
I mean, it's New York. There's public transport. Can you imagine them on the subway? Just like,
or a bus, city bus.
That's what Rick Moranis did in Ghostbusters too.
Oh, that's right. He got out of the bus driven by Slimer.
That's right. Can you drive?
Yeah. Okay.
You had your license.
Well,
But
we
I'll
know
go
there's
with-
tons of ghosts who can drive, like taxi cab drivers.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, we
right.
always see those
But
those guys.
Slimer doesn't have feet, so I guess it'd be a telekinesis thing to work the pedals. I don't know, whatever.
Speaking of Slimer, though, during this sequence, we do get a little bit of like, I don't know, what is this, like a C or D plot at this point?
Probably, yeah,
There's a lot of-
D or F. Yeah, I'd say it's down there.
Yeah, where we see Phoebe's older brother.
Finn Wolfhard's
investigating-
character.
Yeah, he's up there, finds a pile of trash, and he encounters Slimer.
Right.
Gets a little bit of-
Living in the attic all these many years. And the attic is great, by the way. It's Easter egg central. You see the original yellow Ghostbusters stenciled sign in the corner. You see a lot of other props that just kind of, so it was basically the attic of Easter eggs. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It's fantastic. Well, anyway, we get this series of him and Slimer going back and forth where he's trying to capture Slimer on his own and everything. And of course, Slimer keeps spoiling him. And I do have to say one thing about Slimer. Slimer looked fantastic in this.
Yes.
Right.
And it was an actual nice because they went back to traditional filming techniques for Slimer in that he
Cool.
was a live
A
puppet,
practical
a
prop.
practical effect.
He was a
So it was
Yoda. He was a Yoda Slimer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Wait,
could
they didn't
tell
use
it
the
looked
popcorn
great.
bucket, Slimer?
We've got
No.
we got the Ghost Trap popcorn bucket.
And there was
that's a good one.
a quick sidebar. The merch for this movie was second to none. You got that
Yeah.
one. April and I grabbed, because we saw it Thursday night, we grabbed the last Ecto 1, which was also a popcorn bucket.
Mm.
But we each
Mhm.
got the April's favorite part of it is the little Stay Puft Marshmallow guys, because April loves cutesy stuff. They're shoulder
Mhm.
sitters because they have a magnet on their butt. And so I put a picture on my Instagram of the one sitting on my
love
shoulder.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, the merch for this
I got
was-
a cup.
you gotta wait, Todd. You know what? Hey, you're a part of things. I love it.
I know, yes. I will continue to drink out of that cup. It'll go in the bathroom.
There
I'm
you go,
taking,
bathroom cup. This will
pills,
be
yes,
it'll
wash
be
my
for,
teeth.
for washing the tub. There you go.
So Phoebe goes on this bus by herself with podcasts, and they go to Melody's Diner, and they head on inside, and everyone seems cool with these two kids coming in with nuclear accelerators.
Not a big
That's
deal.
okay. I'd be fine with that too. That's fine. They know what they're doing. They look good. So
If you look like you know what you're doing and you're in uniform, people will let you go bust ghosts anyway.
It'll be
That's the
okay.
important
Yeah, it's
thing.
New York. Why not?
So it turns out that the ghost that they come to bust is Melody. The fire ghost that she's befriended. So they end up having this little bit of a tense moment that ends with the ghost escaping and Phoebe firing at her. Then
More
she,
property damage.
Yep.
Then she goes back to the firehouse and says goodbye to podcast and heads upstairs. And there's Phoebe floating outside, or not Phoebe, but Melody floating outside Phoebe's window. And they're like, "Yeah, oh, sorry, I had to shoot at you there. You know, this is kind of my job. Didn't mean anything by that."
And they become great pals.
Yeah, she's like, "Why don't you come in and hang out?" And Melody's like, "You want me to come willingly into your ghost extermination headquarters?"
Right. It's like it's a reverse vampire. Can't invite vampire in the other way around.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. My wife is a big fan of like the supernatural and ghosts. Typically, they're tied to a place.
Right.
And this one
place
just
or
seems like
object.
she can go wherever the hell she wants. I
Well,
thought that was a little strange.
all the ghosts in
Which must
Ghostbusters for
mean
the most
she's
part,
tied to an object.
an
I
object,
assume.
right? So she's tied to,
'Cause
and
it's
that's
either
the
a
thing.
place or an object.
She's
right?
got the matchbook from the
Yeah,
hotel that
it's-
she died in a tenement fire. She says that. So
Did
that-
she burn down the house?
I don't think. No, she said it was a tenement.
I think
tenement. So yeah, you think so?
Oh,
Yeah, it could be.
really?
I don't know. It's very ambiguous, but I felt like some of the comments made it sound like maybe she
She
either
had something to do with
felt
it. That's
or
why she
was
had
responsible
the
for burning it
matches.
down.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
that's
I
why
kind of
she
felt like
could-
she
yeah,
felt guilt.
that's
and
why
yeah.
that's why she couldn't cross over
And why she
stuff.
probably survived versus no one else did.
Right. So
Kids with matches.
yeah, as we move along, we then find out that that Melody is integral to the part in a different, and just at the end of that scene, we find she's integral to the plot in a different way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they end up. So we go back to our C plot with the orb.
Right.
I thought the orb was supposed to be the A
Yeah,
plot.
I think
I
the
don't
orb's
know
the
what
A plot,
happened.
but yeah.
We're gonna call it the orb plot.
There's a
Orb
lot
plot.
going on. In this.
We'll call it Ghost Girl plot, orb plot,
Slimer.
busted plot, which
Yeah.
is just their normal day-to-day job.
Fire master plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And Fire Master plot. There we go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So back to orb plot.
Yes.
They bring it to Winston's new research station with his engineers to start getting that checked out, and they discover that quite by incident that the orb is somehow communicating with the other ghosts.
And they have the
It
the
seems-
little Stay Puft guys are all freaking out, and the other ghosts are
Yeah,
like,
they do not like.
yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be controlling them somehow or influencing them in some way. So then they start going, well, we got to find out, more about this. Where do you get this from? And that leads Ray,
Ray, podcast, and sidelined Phoebe to do some research, right?
the at the library. But when they go to his apartment, the brother was there. Finn Wolfhard.
Oh yeah.
Well, they go to his a team of Ghostbusters
People.
goes to
Welfare check. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. They go to the apartment of the character from earlier who brought the orb.
Canal, yeah.
Kunal, yeah, and he lets them in, and they start investigating, and they find that the orb was stored inside of this brass containment chamber that it was acoustically perfectly sound. And we see the armor that the mysterious figure was wearing at the beginning,
right?
And it's kind of implied that might have been his grandmother who passed away recently.
I'll tell you, this is a perfect tribute to rent-controlled New York apartments, because that what you saw right there would have been a $3,000 a month shed or basically closet that somebody could have lived in. Yeah,
absolutely. We also see this giant pair of ominous horns kind of hanging on the wall.
Definitely not good.
Right in front of this. Yeah, right in front of the stand that looks like it may have one time held the orb.
Freddy foreshadowing. Yes.
So we get a lot of clues from that situation. And then, of course, they end up going to, continuing their investigation, they end up back at the public library.
Yeah, because there's two teams things going on here. So that's like the Ghostbusters team, they're doing the welfare check and follow up on the orb. They went to the apartment, whereas we've got the sidelined-esque B team where it's like Ray's retired, Phoebe's sidelined, and Podcast is not really at space camp.
Intern, yes. The other two characters, and then we also see is at Lucky, Celeste O'Connor's character, who was unfortunately Madam Web earlier this year, from the previous film, they're interning, so that's how they're both conveniently included in the plot. And Celeste O'Connor's character is at the lab. And then, in the library, that's where we see Patton Oswalt, because he's the consultant on this different stuff, and he actually has the wax recording that they start playing. But then it gets the wax recording gets kidnapped.
Yep, the possessor ghost had stowed away inside of Podcast equipment, his recording equipment, and while they're playing it, it snaps the recording and tries to take off with it, and the chase ensues where they're chasing after this possessor ghost who has this audio, which, if played in the presence of the orb, supposedly could release the big bad.
Which they don't even 100% know what's in there. To just know that it's very dangerous.
It's bad. It's not good.
And we do get a little cameo while they're running through the library of the Gray Lady.
Yes, the Gray Lady. There you go. Yes.
Yep, the original ghost that they encountered from the first film. And
they never requested that she be removed. They're okay with just keeping her there?
They never they never busted her, I guess.
They had a restraining order against the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to be back there.
Oh, okay.
So they're just...
So they haven't been back there in 40
lady,
years.
We want people to go to a library. That's not a great way to get people to go to the library, unless I guess they're doing paranormal research. But I mean,
right?
It would have gotten me to the library.
Yeah, you bet.
That's true. You might have died, but that's okay.
Occupational hazard.
It seems like as long as you're quiet, she's fine.
Right.
She just seems
she
not
just
like it when you're around.
When you don't shush, then she comes at you. Get her!
So the fight goes outside, and they lose track of it, and it ends up possessing one of the lion statues.
Right.
The iconic, famous lion statues outside the New York Public Library, and it attacks Ray. And they rode in on the Ecto-C, which is a great nod to the old cartoon because we never saw it in live action, but the Ecto-C was a vehicle they had in the cartoon.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's your little old school side cart motorcycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool to see it actualized, like in real life. It was just as cool as the cartoon. I was like, yes, I want one now.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So while they're fighting, Ray's like, go to the motorcycle, hit the button. Podcast goes over, and there's like 1 million buttons.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know what button he's talking about. So they're trying to figure out what button to hit. And finally, he hits the right one, and this Neutrona one pops up out of the sidecar, and Phoebe grabs it, and they're having some trouble with it. It's old equipment, sometimes it needs a little maintenance, so it doesn't quite start up right away. So we get this tense standoff between Phoebe and this stone lion that's about to descend and attack her. And just before it strikes, she manages to get it up and running, and she fires off a blast and shatters the statue in front of the public.
Whoops.
And unfortunately, several police officers who happen to be responding to the incident at the time, and in typical Ghostbuster fashion, they all get arrested.
Right. And the Ghostbusters get shut down. They get shut down. So now the Ghostbusters are on the outs again. So that's not going to go well.
No.
Not just shut down. They want them out of the firehouse. They're like, you got like 24 hours to get out. You're done.
It's the end of summer camp.
Yep. We have confiscated your packs. Do not cross go. Do not collect $200. Get out.
Right.
And
and
of course,
question.
at this point, Peck is delighted
Yeah.
because he's the one who's been wanting to do this forever, and he finally gets the opportunity.
Yeah. So they own the building, right? That was originally owned by, when they took out the loan in the original movie, they own that building.
Right.
There's no bad superintendent that is like bothering them. So Joe Pesci's not involved in this. Remember that movie? He did the super. I'm just wondering, did Winston just not want to pay for like any upkeep of this building?
Yeah, it's absolutely falling apart.
It's in bad spot. Even the containment unit. I mean, it's like, once again, it's like, wow, no upgrades.
He's spending all the money on his fancy thing, which they built in an old aquarium. So I guess they like to maintain their stuff in old.
I mean, I guess they can condemn it. That's what the city can do because they own the building. But
right.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. But anyway, so now if I can move us forward, Phoebe's relationship with Melody the ghost, she's like, hey, I want to speak to you in the ghost world. So I missed it that there's a device that she can put herself in and then set a timer and it pulls her spirit out. This is weird. And so she's a ghost for a couple minutes, and that way she and Melody can like see each other on the normal level. But we already kind of got the vibe that Melody was a little past the level, because as she's walking away after that last scene, she's hearing some voice speaking to her, and she's like, I know, I'm trying to get it done, or what. So that she's not on the level, and this scene shows you that she's not. So what happens now?
Well, she ends up, there's evidently, in order to unleash the, we found out at the library that the entity inside of the orb was an ancient god by the name of Garaka.
Ah, man.
and in order to release Garaka from the orb, it's not enough just to chant, to open up this orb. It has to be chanted by a human. So Phoebe becoming a ghost, still having a connection to her body, was all part of Garaka's plan to take control of her in ghost form, to manipulate her body into saying the chant to unleash him from his orb. So she does the chant, and he's released from the orb. Melody, in exchange, reveals that he's going to let her reunite with her family on the other side, because evidently he's the only one who has that power to let her cross over. And one of the things that we find out from their research at the library is that the only people who can really stand against him are the fire masters.
Oh, yes.
The grandma of Kumali was the fire master that we saw at the beginning, and he's the next in line to inherit this. And they tried experimenting with him and researching him, and found that there was something off about him. He might be possessed. He might have some sort of telekinetic ability. They're not really sure, but he has something to do with Garaka coming back. And one of the first things that we see Garaka do upon getting his freedom, he goes to a smoking, like
the smoke shop. Yeah.
Called Fire Masters, and he approaches the poor, cashier who's working there, and he's like, "Are you the Fire Master?"
Like the gatekeeper.
Kind of a nod to "Are you the Key Master?" sort of a situation. He's like, "Well, yeah, of course, I own the place," and it doesn't go well for him.
Yeah. So Garaka gets free because there's a big fake him out, because Melody then possesses poor Phoebe as a ghost, and Phoebe recites the chant, but it's coming out of her human body mouth in the tube. That the whole thing was just kind of weird for me. But I mean,
a little bit, because I didn't get the impression that the device that she used to separate herself from the body was ever even used on humans. It sounded like, and
I don't think it was supposed to.
Yeah, that
I don't think so.
that seemed like it. Yeah,
safety warning.
it was a
She
weird.
was taking a leap of science.
Yeah,
at that point.
that was a weird development. But and you can set a timer for it. So she said a 2-minute timer.
Why? So I'm gonna ask a dumb question. Why did she really want to be a ghost when she's already talking to her? Was it that she wanted a ghost girlfriend so they could touch? And
that's what we were struggling with.
That's the only thing that made sense to me, because anything other, I'm like, they're already talking.
Yeah,
I mean,
so what were
there was attraction there, I believe.
Yeah, it seemed that way. But yeah, it didn't seem like I'm going to be a ghost so that I can, because it's not like I can do that so I can see you, because maybe she couldn't see her but only hear her. Maybe she liked to see her. So yeah, that whole part of it kind of fell flat for me. I didn't really get what they were trying to accomplish. Other than it moved the plot forward. It got Garaka released, which is what they needed.
I will say, in the deeper lore of things, the technology being able to remove the spirit from the body, there's precedent for that all the way from the first film, because that's the reason you can't look into the trap when the trap is activated, because the trap will suck the soul right out of your body.
Oh, don't want that. That's big. That's big.
Important safety tip.
I looked in the trap, Ray.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the lore behind that a little bit. So there is precedent for that happening in a technological way. So that was kind of an evolution of that, I think.
Yeah.
And they mentioned, she asked him at the very beginning, have you ever tried this on a human before? And they said, oh, we're nowhere near ready to try testing that yet.
Right. Oh boy. And so she pioneered the tech. So now, Garaka's out, and obviously that's when you see all the stuff from the trailer of like, all the people at Coney Island, which I thought Coney Island, have you ever seen the movie The Warriors? I thought Coney Island was like a haven of gangs and in disgusting grossness. So to see it look like, it looks like a resort in the Caribbean where people are playing and having a good time. I thought that seemed that was my suspension of disbelief for my understanding of the fact that Coney Island is like old and scary. But yeah, the storms coming in and everything's turning to ice, and we got trouble in the Big Apple. Big frozen apple.
Yeah. So yeah, and they end up fortifying at the firehouse because Garaka, they've discovered his big plan is to open up the containment unit, which is already having problems, and free all the ghosts they have, so he gets an instant ghost army. But of course, they have a problem, because when Garaka busted out, Lucky was there to help Phoebe. She tried using the proton pack on Garaka. He froze the proton beams.
That's not good.
Proton beams are ineffective, so they have no way to fight Garaka.
Super cold.
Yep. So they end up, so they all fall back to the firehouse, and what happens then?
Basically, they're trying to plan at the firehouse, and Winston tries to talk Ray previously out of being really involved, saying things like, this is our golden years, you should be enjoying them. Ray, of course, being like, this is how I want to spend my golden years, this is what I enjoy. And so we kind of see that energy reciprocated in other past ghost busting members, because there's Janine Melnitz is there, and then of course they think someone's at the door, and that's they open up and they're like, it's Binkman, come on in, we could definitely use the hand, even though we have no idea how we're gonna solve this. But it's
we're all
it's
together.
like almost Home Alone-ish vibes, where they're like, we're gonna figure something out here.
It's gonna be the power of friendship. And I will say, having the young characters and the old characters together has been done recently with the Jurassic Park characters, and that didn't work at all. And I think this worked just fine.
This felt very organic.
Yeah, where the Jurassic Park one was, and now we're all here. And let me talk about it. I don't know if you saw the most recent Jurassic Park film, but that part of it really did not work. So this reminded me of that, but this really slid in, I think, because the characters had all been in the movie kind of together. These last two films, it felt organic because it was earned. Where the thing in the Jurassic World film just absolutely was not. But anyway,
so they've been working with Kumali this whole time to hone his power as the next fire master, and they've been practicing with a candle and a lighter for him, and they discover that he does have a talent. He's certainly able to manipulate the flame, but not enough power. It's not the power that they need. But Phoebe gets the idea that, well, they used a brass orb to contain it and a brass chamber. Brass has to be the key to working against this creature. So she goes and she starts collecting all the brass in the firehouse to add it to the cyclotron unit so that it's filtered through the brass so that the beam will have more of an effective output against Garaka. But of course, she's only got enough time to modify.
You got the brass montage, but she does it real quick.
Yeah, it was the fire pole, right?
Yeah.
The fire pole is what they used for it. So yeah.
So whatever they could get their hands on, they only had enough time for one. So the rest of the team is left to try and face Garaka with ineffectual weapons, and I guess just play for time is the strategy at that point. And of course, we get another cameo upstairs with the new guy, the new British guy.
Right.
He gets taken out by a little ghost upstairs, and he's kind of written off for the rest of the finale. But we get to see some great dialogue downstairs as Garaka shows up and approaches the team, and we get to see that from the trailer. Venkman, oh, here comes the tall, dark, and horny at 12 o'clock high.
That was a good line. That was a good line
because he had stopped by Camille's apartment to reclaim his horns earlier on. Obviously,
yes, thank you.
Because apparently the horns were separated from. Yeah, that's how they were. Because by
Yeah, they said his
they
horns
complete the outfit.
They complete the
power
outfit.
somehow?
Yeah, they so yeah, they did because they made reference to like Samson and his hair and whatever his horns were. Yeah, there was
something about his horns, something about his power.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a lot going on.
Horny power, got it.
Yes, that's what all the ghosts want.
Horny power. So yeah, so big slug out. Everybody's together, and what happens? Do they defeat the bad guy or do they lose?
Yeah, what happened, Jess?
I don't remember.
Well, it didn't look like it was going the way we wanted it to go. Because again, I think the thought process must have been, well, he couldn't handle one beam, so let's throw all the beams at him. But it turns out he could, in fact, handle all the beams on their brand new packs.
That's what I would have done. If it doesn't work at first, just hit it more.
Hit it with more power. Maybe if there's more power to try to stop, it'll be more effective against him. It wasn't more effective against him. The same thing that happened to Lucky happened to everybody. And just when things are starting to look kind of bleak, we hear this like screeching sound on the fire pole. And lo and behold, I think the character's name's Nadim, I think.
We'll just say Kanil Nanjiani. That's all I need.
Yeah. His character is, he's decided, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to take up my grandmother's mantle, literally put on his grandmother's mantle and her armor, and is coming down the pole. And what we're hearing is this screeching metal, which is, it's actually really comedic, and I actually really liked it. But he's decided that he's going to save the day.
He
feels like he's ready to do the fire and to save the day. Unfortunately,
he tossed out.
They are out of fire.
He tossed out my favorite line of assistance because he's like, "Hey, dude."
Oh, no.
He's like, "Hey, dude. Real talk. Let's just wrap this up. I'll go back to Queens, and you can go back to Narnia, and we'll call it a day."
Okay, actually, I did forget about that. That is actually an amazing line.
That actually also set up my other favorite line because he goes to light the lighter and it's out of fluid. You're like, "You're out of fluid already?" He's like, "You told me to practice."
Yeah, right.
Does anybody else have a light? And Ray's like, "I quit smoking in the 90s." And of course, Bateman just without missing a beat goes, "Proud of you then, proud of you now."
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and he's like more like Pyro, the X-Men villain, where
exactly
he can't create fire. He can control fire, but he has no ability to create fire. Right. So without that, there's really
he should have been
has a light.
Wearing flamethrowers. Like
vaping has no lighter involved.
He's not
days,
called Vape Master. So if he could have moved around the Fruity Cocoa Pebbles.
That would be pretty good. Vape Man and Chronic. Yeah.
It was a great sequence. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, and Garaka actually defeats the combined forces, the Fire Master and Ghostbusters old and new, and freezes everybody in place. And it looks like it's going to be a repeat of the opening sequence where they walked in and they saw all the people frozen in place. And it kind of looks like all hope is lost. But in that moment, Phoebe shows up. Our girl walks up and she's got her modified proton pack running in the back, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think the proton pack either was or was inspired by the original design that Adam Savage came up with on his Tested YouTube show.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Nice deep dig.
For the Aftermath. I think it might be the same one, or at least inspired by, because it was very similar with the open cyclotron design and everything. That was an interesting little Easter egg, I thought. Anyway, she opens fire with this experimental pack on Garaka, and it seems to stagger Garaka a little bit. The beam looks very unhinged and very out of control and not consistent.
I also like the color. It's like a green, like a lemony, darky green kind of color.
It is. It's St. Patrick's Day at the firehouse.
Yeah, yep.
You're saying something cobbled together and the last minute isn't well refined and has great specifications.
Yeah, it's like the Ewoks assault on the stormtroopers on Endor. Oh, they put it together in 5 minutes. It'll be fine.
It's like the A-team plan.
Yeah.
We'll always assemble it the last minute,
Yeah.
get it good, everything will go well.
You bet.
Well, it's still not enough, though, and it ends up that we get to see Melody come back, and she gets a little bit of her redemption arc with her one match that she's been carrying through the whole movie.
You're right.
Her storyline with that, and she, the Fire Master is she lights the match, and the Fire Master is able to use that fire to attack Garaka, and the combined attack of the Fire Master and Garaka and Phoebe against Garaka seems to work, holding him in place, and the rest of the team starts to unthaw, and her family comes and they join her and they help her hold the thrower as they're
It looks like it's got a lot of really bad kickback,
Yeah.
I mean, it just was recently modified.
Yeah, so it's pretty unstable. So while they're doing that, they're like, well, they got him, but now we need a trap. What are they going to do, Jess?
Oh my goodness. This was one of my favorite parts was, the I want to say like the old school class was downstairs. They had come up with this great plan where they were going to basically reverse the polarity and use the trap in the basement of the firehouse, which has, its sense burst open.
Right. All the ghosts got out, and that was
all the ghosts got out when Baraka originally showed. That was like his opening number.
Right.
Was busting it open, but now they're like, we can reverse the polarity and basically turn this into a giant mega trap.
Right. Suck him in.
Ray's going through trying to explain it, and Venkman's like, we trust you, buddy, just do the thing.
Yeah.
And I really loved that. And so we see the whole team down there, like he's reversing it, but again, like earlier, they're having trouble with the lever. It takes their combined effort as a team to like
teamwork.
And it turns into a giant trap, and it works. And Ray was right, and that really gives the team upstairs that fighting chance because they were losing him. They couldn't hold him for much longer,
and they got him. Awesome.
Got him.
And it does the magic reversal where everything goes back to things seal back up.
Yeah,
everything goes back to normal.
Yeah, exactly.
There's less cleanup.
No holes. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because at this point, then they walk outside and there's a crowd out there, and then Dickless shows up, and then somebody in the crowd says, "Hey, Dickless!" Like somebody yells out to him, and he's like, "I'm going to put all of you guys. I'm going to bury you under the jail." And the TV crew's there, and then they simply say, "Mayor, what do you have to say to the Ghostbusters?" One of them jumps in and says, "Hey, he was just thanking us that we saved the city, and he loves us." And then he is just caught with his balls in of eyes. He's just got to be like, yeah, they're the greatest." And then they're off the hook. Everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saddened we didn't get a Dickless joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm sad, but I'm less sad because it would almost have been too fan servicey, I think. But having somebody from the crowd yell, "Hey, Dickless," or something right at that moment, I think that was the right amount of Dicklessness.
I would have liked to have seen more interaction between him and Venkman, though.
Yeah.
Venkman comes up.
Because
that was a very awkward moment between him and I think he wanted to say something, but
yeah.
More
William Atherton throughout this whole movie, he looked unwell. I don't know. He just looked like he looked even more uncomfortable than like Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens, where he's just like, And Todd, you've always said the pain running. Like anything that he would do, he looked uncomfortable.
He's 76. He's older than he's a little bit younger than my mom. So he deserves whatever roles he can get.
Yeah.
I appreciate him coming back.
I think he did just fine. But then we do see that obviously all the ghosts that escaped, they're still out there. So right away our guys got to go back to work, and were they chasing the same ghost down the street from the beginning, or was it just
Yeah,
a different?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the dragon.
the dragon. Yeah.
And
Sewer
Devil.
dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're going to roll credits, but then if I might, we jump into the mid-credit scene, so we get a little bit of credits and names rolling, whatever it is. And then you're in New Jersey or whatever, and there's some guy, and I can never figure out, he's a truck driver, and he's got the gas pumping. He walks over to like a vending machine. I can't figure out what I don't know. I don't know enough about truck stops, I guess. He's fiddling with the vending machine, and his truck starts up. Yeah, it's a good thing I don't know enough about truck stops because I don't drive a truck, and we don't even talk about that. And his truck starts up, and it's all of our little Stay Puft guys doing what they do. And obviously, this is an old truck because it has a cigarette lighter because the one has it pressed in his face. And yeah, like I said, hands down, my wife's very favorite part of any of this is the little Stay Puft guys because they're great. There's a few of them around this. My wife has a shirt. We have a pop. We now have those 2 shoulder sitters. So it's a whole thing. And then that's the whole movie.
Yeah.
So all right, Todd.
So
Wow, we've really swung long, but yeah, let's talk.
We've gone full circle on this, so yeah. So I'll just give my quick take. I enjoyed the film, but I feel at this point Ghostbusters has gone more into the mythology than the comedy, which I think it definitely needs more of. It's more like plot focus. We got to hit all these things and do some. I really think that's when I think back to the original Ghostbusters. It was a comedy with supernatural. It's kind of gone full circle. So I would like to see if this franchise goes forward. I think it needs to be a TV series that we get more of those one-off adventures, rather than it's always the big space orb and we have to do something. That would give characters more time to shine, develop, have more goals. And that could be an animated project because I think that's where they've shined and we haven't had one in a long time. So that's where I'd like to see it go because it's very hard to up the ante if they're doing another movie because they've already fired on so many nostalgia weapons. It's like
nostalgia weapons, literally.
What can they really do to bring it more? Except for like Rick Moranis would be the last key. Are they going to bring back Peter McNichol from the Vigo guy? And
Vigo was one of the ghosts that got out, obviously, because he'd been in there since 1989.
And I think the other part is there were just too many characters in this that I felt like it was just so spread so thin. Like you said, Lucky's in it. We added a new British guy. We had this and Camille. And it's like, wow, you got to just pare it down or it ends up being 85 villains and not a lot of development. So I would like to see this go somewhere else. But I enjoyed the film, but I think it can't keep doing what it's doing or you're just going to get diminishing returns. And I think it needs to do new things or pare it down to maybe just the new cast. And say, let the others go.
That could have been because, it was similar to what the thought process was, over 30 years ago when they were handing off original Star Trek over to the next generation. They made a handoff of sorts with Generations, Star Trek 7 with Kirk and Picard, and they had one big thing together, but they didn't bring everybody together for 2 movies and try to keep it all going. So that was tough. I too felt there were characters that were tacked on, like they tacked on Lucky and they tacked on Podcasts, and it was, we're in town for the summer or something. And it seemed very overly convenient. But yeah, you're right. The mythos and world building became a bigger part with the engineering lab and all this different stuff. But yeah, you're right. Even parts of that, like the thing that could pull spirits out of an object, now pulling them out of a people. All of us were like, when did they cover that? I don't feel like that really got covered. So there were a lot of instances, and then it's really convenient to slide this thing in. And this was a longer movie. I think it was closer to 2 hours, maybe. So I felt pacing was a bit of an issue here and there. And then I felt a lot really got jammed into that last half of that last act, that they're like, we got to get this all figured out. And diminished a little bit. And then again, we had, like you guys described to us, the really convenient, now we can take the trap and flip it backwards and suck him back in. And it had to get solved somehow, but that seemed like, okay. But again, you're dealing with the supernatural where there's crazy rules. And we already talked about how there's no consistency with the ghosts. Some of them can fly and some of them are on the ground and some can talk and some can just scream and some, like Egon, can't make any noise at all. So, it was one of those like, well, can a ghost do this thing or that thing? It's like, they do whatever the hell you want. It's whatever makes sense for the story. They did a lot of that. some of it worked better than other bits. But again, this is getting review bombed. I know Rotten Tomatoes was in the 40s, 45, 47 at least a couple of days ago. I disagree with that. I found it very enjoyable.
Well, it's the critics were higher. The audience is higher.
Yeah, okay.
The critics were more panning it.
Yeah.
It wasn't review bombed. It was just like the critics felt like there was diminishing returns.
They
like
were
you said, some were higher, some were lower.
Reviewed it as a bomb. And do we know where we're landing? Because we're recording this on a Sunday, where we're at with ticket receipts or even maybe projected?
Like 45 million, which is,
is that
the series is getting closer to $1 billion.
Yeah.
So it's going there.
And again, you said if the budget of this is 100 million, let's face it, that's not bad, particularly considering how Marvel has tilted themselves into a hole with all of their super high budget, low performing films.
Yeah, the last movie was only 75, so they did go up again. So, but it's at like, I think the movie is closer to like $85 million total budget box office wise. So I think it's going to do well.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I like it. I think I'm in a rare alignment with Todd that I would like to see it track back more to the little bit more of the jokey ha-has and not necessarily the big serious mythos. Because that was very dense as far as the direction they went in with the retelling of this ancient thing and and so that's my take. I enjoyed it. But diminishing returns, I think, Todd, you said it correctly. It's potentially a bit more diminished. So, Aaron,
so we're going to end on a positive note, I assume, with our two Ghostbusters.
Yes, our two Ghostbusters who have done all of the heavy lifting in this segment. This has been one of our longest shows, but this has been a ton of fun. But yeah, guys, take us home. Give us your takes, and then we'll go around the horn and do some ratings.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I would say that, well, I mean, obviously I do have a bias. I love all the Ghostbuster movies. That includes Ghostbuster 2, that includes the 2016 Ghostbusters. I to a certain extent, I find something enjoyable in all of them. This one, I liked it. I felt with the plot, there were a lot of missed opportunities. There was more we could have done, I felt, with some of the characters. Like, we could have done more with Venkman. We could have done more with Ray and Egon. And I wasn't a big fan of all the subplots. It felt very bloated and very full. And there's just so much happening in this movie. That's why it took so long to review it. There's just so many ideas going into this. I felt if we could have pared it down a little more, streamlined it a little more, I think it would have been a perfect movie. So I don't know. I know you kind of feel the same way with the subplots, right?
So I have two different ideas here. So one is they either need to cut down some of the redundancies of subplots, which is hard to say because I did actually love the performance of the Ghost Girl, but a lot of the plot points that she hit could have been easily explained with other technologies and other characters that already existed. And so you could theoretically take all of the Ghost Girl subplot out and have a very solid movie that would not feel as bloated. So there's that option. I did think the actress did a phenomenal job, and I thought the crew that did like the CGI on her, very beautiful, but the truth is she could be cut, and it could be still a tight movie and possibly tighter because it would allow other characters that already exist to maybe shine a bit more, I do feel like if you wanted to keep all of these characters in, what you've basically done is you just avenged yourself Endgame, but you shoved it all into one movie because you've got all these pre-existing characters from the first movie that have fully fledged stuff that people already like, and you got all these new characters from the new movie, and you're smushing them together just like Endgame. But Endgame did it in two movies,
in two long, a 2 hour and 2.5 hour and a 3 hour movie. So 5.5 hours a movie.
All of this subplot, you really need to dedicate a little bit more time for everything to feel fleshed out instead of feel so fast. Maybe make it a 2-parter. Right. I don't know how that would go. Like they've never done that for Ghostbusters, but I feel like that would work. If they want to do stuff like this, I really liked your idea of maybe doing a TV series to give them more time, or even an animated TV series, which would be fantastic. I mean, if you want to do like an animated TV series to move forward, and then like now we've got this establishment with this animated TV series down the road, you want to do another movie? Okay, great. I in no way want my criticisms of that to feel like I didn't have a great time, because I had a great time. Okay, there were Ghostbusters, they shot things, there were one-liners. I loved everything about the library scene.
Slime
I wanted more
happened.
library.
Yep, yeah, the Slimer bit with Finn Wolfhard was great. And I wanted more
comedy. I did. I wanted to laugh a
right,
little
to Todd's
bit
point.
more.
Yeah, we wanted to have a little bit more fun. And that was the chief complaint. I remember, it's funny things you remember. I remember just a take on Ghostbusters 2 back in 1989 that said, the boys are doing what they're doing, but the laughs aren't free flowing as much. It's not as much fun as Ghostbusters 84.
And I think that's why I love the library scene, because it was more of that comedy aspect.
Right.
Like, there was
Well, he
more
had Patton Oswalt, who is my favorite comedian. So I was very happy to see him there as well. So, all right. Well, let's start to wind this down by going around the horn and giving a rating. Todd, you spoke first. So out of 1 out of 10 little Stay Puft Marshmallow guys, what's your rating?
Well, it's going to have to be a half because apparently they just always dismember themselves.
You're right.
So it's going to be, I would say, a 6.5 out of 7 or 10 Stay Pufflets.
Stay Pufflets. Yeah, that works. I'm close, but I'll also stick with the half. I'll give it. I don't want to give it a 6.5 because I would almost say a 6.5, but I'll go a flat 7. So I'll dial back the half to a 7 from a 7.5. I'll go with a 7 because I thought it was great. There was some fun, but the pacing issues and then the kind of jammed up last half of the third act didn't really work for me. So, Aaron and Jessi.
I'm going to make it really complicated, and I'm going to go with 7 3/4.
Ooh, how do you get 3/4 of a pufflet? I guess
because there's a lot.
An arm.
Yeah,
an arm and a leg.
Yeah. Yeah, just because there's a lot of good ideas, there was a lot of potential there. It just needed to be streamlined a little bit more, and it would have been a pretty close to perfect movie, in my opinion.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, see, I was going to say it's an 8, but he's on fire, so he's kind of melting down to a 7.5.
There you go. There you go.
It's a half a star of mush.
Yeah, he's on fire. So
ouch.
on a little roast.
On fire, but not reducting. So, well, cool. Awesome. Well, the movie is in theaters now. Please go support it so that we can have more Ghostbusters in the future. But with that, we bring our now what I feel like longest episode to a close, but this has been fun. What a fun conversation we had today. Aaron and Jessi, the dynamic duo of Southwest Michigan, thank you for joining us. Guys, where do we find you out there?
Jessi?
So if you wanted to see any of the GBMI stuff, we do have a YouTube channel. It's literally just GBMI colons or semicolons Michigan Ghostbusters. So you can just look that up. So we're in that. We just had a special that came out last fall, so you can check that out. If you want to see any of my costuming stuff, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I'm mostly on Instagram. It's So Excited Cosplay, and it's SEW cosplay, and then of course you can do the rest.
Yeah, the USS Rhapsody is our SFI chapter. Jessi and I are both leaders. I'm the captain and she's our first officer. You can find us on Facebook at USS you can find us online at ussrhapsody.org, and that has links to all of our social media accounts.
Totally awesome. And I'm very privileged to be the tier above Aaron and Jessi because I captain the USS Grand Petoskey, which is the flagship chapter of SFI here in Michigan. I'm also very lucky to be the top dude that runs Region 13 for SFI, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're a trekker within the sound of my voice, please feel free to visit sfi.org or the USS Grand Petoskey website, and we can help you find a trekkers in your community. And other than that, you can find me on the socials. I'm C3 Carpenter, spell it out, on Instagram and Threads and Facebook, though I largely stay away. But you find me on those other two. And Todd, I know we flipped it, but where do people find you?
Well, I am the head of the Final Fantasy cosplay. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're lying. You're making fun of us. I don't like it.
I am lying. I'm not in charge of anything, to be honest, but I do love seeing cool people that are talented at cosplay. So keep doing your good stuff. I am at TOxtra on the Threads and Twitter, and at Secret Fringe Unite, and at Secret Fringe U on Threads and Twitter as well. Check out our Patreon, check out our website, check out our Discord.
Yes, all those things. Well, friends, one more time, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and keep on trucking. That's you, Todd.
Oh, be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Okay, rookie, I gotcha.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.